The views expressed on Talk Real Solutions, hosted by Tyrone Thompson at talkrealsolutions.com, are the views of Tyrone Thompson and do not reflect the views of talkrealsolutions.com, YouTube, or etc. The content here belongs to Talk Real Solutions and its many contributors. Views and opinions expressed by all contributors belong to them and not talkrealsolutions.com or Tyrone Thompson, the host, or etc. All data and information provided on the site is for informational purposes only. Talk Real Solutions makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information on this site and will not be liable for any errors, omissions, or delays in this information or any losses, injuries, or damages arising from its display or use. All information is provided on an as-is basis.
All right. Welcome to the show. This is Talk Real Solutions, and I am your host tonight, Tyrone Thompson. I want to thank you for tuning in. Today is May the 21st, 2026. And if you want to join the show or call into the show, all you have to do is dial the number at 1-717-908-1834 and hit the participant code at 642-794. I think I got a little dyslexia going on. I was talking on the phone today and somebody read some numbers to me and I read them back, but I got the first two numbers backwards or some shit, and I noticed myself doing it all the time. I don't know if it's dyslexia or whatever, but I do that all the time, so I don't know. I guess it ain't interfered with nothing I did in life, I'm here, so, but anyway, welcome to the show. Here we are, another Thursday, another day in the United States of embarrassment, hell, if you will, racist America, and dude, all I do is I focus on what I got to do around the house. Like I said, it's that time of the year where you're doing some yard work. I'm putting the sprinklers out, throwing some grass seeds in the yard. Me and my neighbor had a tree in between our house. It was on his property, but the branches was hanging on my side of the fence, and I was worried about bad weather blowing the branches onto my roof. So, we got together and we got it cut down today. And I'm glad that the thing gone. Shit like that. That's what I'm doing. I'm minding my business and not trying to let any of these things that we see going on in this country, this racist ass country, bother me, because stress is a killer. And I'm telling you that from experience. I am 59 years old, and a lot of my problems, in part is because of stress. So you don't need to stress about this shit, but you do need to be aware. You do need to be aware and not stress about any of these things, because that will have you depressed and thinking about things and why things aren't going right and why black people are always in this predicament and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we got to address it. I'm not telling you to ignore it because you are a African American that lives in a country that hates you. That's just the bottom line. This country hates black people. There is no other way to put that, and the thing is, you can't tell who's the enemy and who's your ally in this country, So I think it's a little dangerous to put everybody all in the same boat. But you can put most of them motherfuckers in that boat. I can tell you that. You have to personally, individually figure out who you can be friends with and who you can't be friends with, who you can trust and who you cannot trust. You know, that's an individual thing. But the majority of them motherfuckers hate black people in this country. And it ain't nothing new. It ain't nothing new. They did this little slick thing to where they changes the name of their movement through history. You know, now everybody's talking about MAGA and Republicans and Proud Boys and all of this stuff. All of these names are new names. You know, especially to me, being, like I said, 59 years old. Those names are new. But it's still the same old racist bullshit from this country that you've seen from the skinheads and the KKK and the David Dukes. It's the same shit. Ronald Reagan was a goddamn racist. All them motherfuckers were racist. And it's the same shit. It's just new names. And you know, I guess it's kind of smart of them to rebrand their hate and racism, because it gets us talking on a different level. Talking about fucking MAGA when it's the KKK. You know, and everybody gives MAGA excuses because it's associated with a political party, right? You know, back in the day, KKK, the Republicans kind of pushed them to the side, supposedly. But you know that they secretly supported the KKK. Now that the KKK has infiltrated the politics and are actually in power, these people don't mind embracing what all comes with being a fucking Ku Klux Klan member. Downright to writing legislation, taking away rights, firing black people, firing black women, kicking black military members out of the service, tearing down black history, removing black holidays from federal parks. They don't care. Banning black books. It's the KKK. This is what the KKK wanted. This is what racist white America has always been about. It's like Mandela Khan used to say, ain't nothing new up under the sun. You know, he was an aggravating person, but I mean, he did have some quotes that was right on point. You know, ain't nothing new up under the sun. So all of this is the same. And the problem is that, like I always say, this is America's oldest sin, and society has never dealt with it. You know, and as a community, we have never really dealt with it. We have ancestors that was fighting the good fight, making progress step by step, inch by inch, and they were dealing with it in their own way. But when they passed the torch on to the next generation, I think we dropped the baton. We gave up the damn fight. We were comfortable living in this society. We was comfortable with the half-ass legislation that was put forward in our name. We was comfortable with the civil rights. We were comfortable with whatever regulation that they said was intended to help black Americans. You know, we did look at it, and it was an accomplishment. an achievement, if you will. And then when white America started saying, well, you should be satisfied now. You got rights. Black America, because whenever they catch a cold, we get the damn flu. Black America been saying, you know what? You're right. We got all the rights. Why are y'all complaining? You heard that rhetoric. You heard that rhetoric right here on Talk Real Solutions. Why y'all playing victim? Why don't y'all just pick yourself up by your bootstrap? You heard that shit, based off of the small achievements that our ancestors fought and died for in the past, as far as voting rights and civil rights and I forgot that other one, but based off of those achievements, white America started saying, look at what y'all can do the same thing we can do. This is some shit that ABC would say. You should shut up. You should shut up. You shouldn't even be complaining. And we listen to that shit because we have people in our community repeating that same dumb shit. So what do black people do? They shut up. They stop fighting. And then we started pointing the finger at each other, complaining about this white supremacist system, right? And that's the era that we live in today. If I, as a black man living in this white supremacist society, get on these airways and tell you about the conditions of my people from my perspective, there's going to be at least one black person listen to me and tell me, Tyrone, it ain't that way. That's a guarantee. And that's what has been injected into the psychology of black people to push back because Massa said everything was all right. Every time you turn around and try to have these conversations, there's going to be somebody that's holding the master's water and telling me that, I got two in the chat room now saying exactly what the fuck I just said. ABC and Sarge is in the chat room doing exactly what I'm explaining right here. And I'm glad you're there because you're proving my point. Because black people in the country is in a predicament. A terrible, terrible situation. And I'm not qualified to tell you how big this problem is, right? I can nick and pick at it, but I ain't gonna cover everything. I'm not gonna cover everything. So that's why I say I don't have the qualifications that somebody more scholarly can articulate how terrible of a fucking situation black Americans is in, because soon as I start describing how bad it is, somebody gonna listen to me and say, well, that ain't my life. He don't know what the fuck he talking about. Somebody gonna call in and tell me, well, I got 2 cars and 4 houses. Somebody gonna call in and tell me, I get paid pretty damn good. I'm able to travel. I'm able to see the world. Somebody even calling it, well, I voted Republican and I don't feel that way. Just because they got black skin and they hear another black person talking and they're somewhat successful, they're going to feel like they need to cut this conversation off because Massa treated me right. You know, that's somewhat of the narrative that ABC had when he called in last week. Almost verbatim, I'm describing how he described the situation. He was talking about me and Miss Lady being successful, and we should be talking about this success and instead of talking about the negativity. That's the type of shit. That's the type of mindset that fucked our people up along the way. That's the type of mindset that I give you, that we metaphorically, I can't even say the word, metaphorically drop the baton. You see? That is dropping the baton. Instead of engaging in the conversation about our community, instead of contributing to the conversation about those of us who are less fortunate in this white supremacy society, instead of directing our focus towards the government and calling them out for their mistreatment and injustice towards our community, they want us to change the conversation and say, well, that's not me. Why are we worried about them? You know, the whole conversation, but they black people and they niggas. I can't stand a nigga. All that dumb shit. You see? Them thugs should stop killing each other. All of that dumb shit. That's the conversation that happens in Black America, and it goes beyond that. Because y'all know my perspective on spirituality and religion, and coming from that perspective, you get told that you're going to meet your just rewards in another dimension, if you will. You don't need to fight for it now. You were designed to suffer. Right? That book told you that you was cursed when Noah cursed his son Ham, and his son cursed his grandson Canaan, right? That whole narrative exists where there's a psychology in Black America that believes that the conditions that we're living in was designed in Scripture. And everybody's ignoring how we got here and why we are in this condition, which is the white man designed this ecosystems for us to tear our own people apart and never accomplish a goddamn thing as long as we're here. I mean, you can look and see some black millionaires, some black billionaires, right? You can see black people with a little bit of power. But you are never going to see a black Jeff Bezos or a black Elon Musk or a black Rothschild. You know, that's not in the matrix. That's not in the design. So they give a couple of us money. And it's not by force. They don't tell these people that have all this money to go out and say all these negative things about the black community. They don't tell them that. But the way the system is designed, like I said before, it's designed to pit us against one another. So whenever they do make it, and then they look back, because they definitely look back, because they had to come from the fucking bottom. Right? And whenever they look back and they living like massa, they tell everybody else, you need to do it yourself. Look at what I did. No, nigga, look at what the fuck was given to you so you can say that stupid shit. All these comedians and celebrities and athletes that lose their sense of self, that's one of the first stances that they take, criticizing their own people. All right? And then you got the man in the pulpit that is taking every fucking dime out of our community and putting it in his own pocket so he can get his tax write-off. So it's 501c3 from massa. So he ain't gonna turn that down. He gonna keep you in that book so he can develop his wealth and his riches. You know, we're in a bad situation as a black community in this country. Terrible. And then I must admit, on my journey growing up, there seemed to be a time to where this country was moving in the right direction slowly, inch by inch, centimeter by centimeter, because, like I said, the people didn't want to be associated with the KKK. They didn't want to be called racist, you know, publicly. You know, they didn't mind being associated with that shit privately and conducting themselves as racist. But publicly, they didn't want their children to be identified as racist. They didn't give a shit. They didn't care about being associated with that shit, right? They didn't. Publicly. I'll keep saying that. Because like I said, the majority of them motherfuckers are racist privately. And that's how they raise their racist ass kids. And their racist ass kids going to join society as police officers and doctors and lawyers and firefighters and teachers, you know, and business owners. But they didn't want to be associated with publicly. So like I said, there was a time where it looked like the country was moving forward. Until they kind of doubled down, if you will. Put the foot on the gas of, how can I say? When Donald Trump, no. Well, yeah. It started with Barack Obama. When Barack Obama became president, all of those secret, private feelings that I'm talking about white America was hiding, that stuff started showing its head. You know, and around the same time, YouTube has become pretty popular. So on YouTube, you would see all of these channels that was prepper channels. They was prepping. You know, they was doomsday. They was storing goods and canned goods and digging out fucking shelters and making sure that they had all kinds of ammo and guns and they was making sure that whenever the society collapsed that they was ready. And there was a time when preppers were what everybody was doing on YouTube, right? Survival food, ways to do things when your lights go out or in an emergency. There was just all kinds of people. You couldn't fucking click on YouTube without seeing somebody prepping for something. The end of time to come. But I knew immediately what the fuck these people was doing. Because a couple of them YouTubers, they let it slip. They would actually say that since Barack Obama is the president, we got to be ready. That they would say that. They would say that we got to gather all of this stuff and be ready, get all our guns ready and have all our food prepared because this black man is going to do the same shit to us that our people did to them. You know, it was around the Tea Party time and racism was, you know, it was just out there. You know, calling Michelle a monkey and a man and saying Barack Obama wasn't born in this country and talking about his children, sharing pictures of watermelons on the front line at the White House, all kinds of shit. Right? White people was mad as fuck that a black man made it to the White House. And then we even had black people in our community that was telling us Barack Obama ain't black. You know? He's mixed, which that's true. He's mixed too. But on this planet that we live on, ever since I can remember, whether you agree with it or not, they've always had this one drop rule. And that's pretty much what society went by for as long as I know. Is you got one drop of black blood, hell, you a black person. That's what the fuck the rule was. And then it changed when black people started outcasting mixed people because, you know, they was mixed. And I was like, okay, well, shit, I don't know where to go with this one, but I guess that's what people are doing now. So we had a lot of conversations about mixed people and mixed babies and how people races shouldn't mix and all this kind of shit. You know, I never really engaged in those conversations because I thought they were silly. Now here's why. And if you have a mixed child anywhere on the planet, but in this country, that mixed child is going to get treated just like any other person of color or black person. You know, there may be some advantages for that mixed child based on their family status, but I guarantee you, once that mixed child leaves that inner circle of their family who's taking care of them, they're gonna become just another nigga. That's just the bottom line. So I never understood that whole count out the mixed people and all that kind of stuff, you know. Yeah, they got one white parent or whatever, but and you have to listen to what that child has to say about their priority and their walk through society and how they're treated. And you will know immediately whether that child was treated like a person of color as soon as they open their damn mouth, you know. And then you got some mixed children like that girl that used to play on The View, I forget, Stacey Dash, that is just ignorant. And she wanted to embrace the white side. And that's a perfect example of what happened whenever these mixed children embraced their white side. Because they got rid of her. And nobody even talks about her no more because she's black. And she's got on and said some of the most racist shit against the community and all this kind of bullshit on the View, on Fox News and all this kind of shit. And then after she did all of that cooning, they kicked her ass to the curb. So that's what I'm just saying, you know, whenever we look at mixed children, I don't get into the whole debate about they're not black and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a silly conversation. And people are strong in their stances about that, you know, and you can have that. I just don't agree unless the person is like Stacey Dash. Then, you know, they chose that path. Where was that? I got thrown off talking about mixed people. But anyway, racism started raising its head with Barack Obama and the Tea Party and the Prepper movement and all this kind of shit. And then they elected Donald Trump. And when Donald Trump was on, I think it was a CNN interview. It was a news interview. And the journalist was asking him to disavow David Duke. And Donald Trump, I thought it was strange when I watched it the first time. Donald Trump avoided the question. And I think it was asked again. And then Donald Trump said, I don't know who this person is. Now, just looking at it, people would say, well, maybe Donald Trump don't know David Duke. But what I saw as a black person is everybody in this motherfucking country know who David Duke is. Everybody in this country know that David Duke is a goddamn racist. This is what I saw. Everybody know that David Duke was the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. Everybody know that. And this man sitting on TV claiming that he don't know David Duke is him pandering to white racists right in front of our fucking face. That's what I saw. Because if he don't disavow David Duke, then that means he's got some type of alignment with David Duke. So I saw that early on. But everybody else didn't get it. You know, Donald Trump, in order to win, needed to motivate the electorate of people who didn't normally show up at the goddamn polls, which was these racist fucking hillbillies that didn't give a shit about elections. All they did was give a shit about building crosses and burning fucking crosses and saying the N-word and fucking their cousin. They didn't care about elections until Donald Trump showed that he had sympathy for their views. And that was one of the ways he did it, by not disavowing David Duke. And that was an indicator for me. You know, I don't know how other people took that, but that was an indicator. And then once white America saw Donald Trump at his rallies, kicking out black people, allowing his racist audience to punch black rally goers, telling the police it's okay to beat people up and all that kind of shit, that the movement just grew with these racists. And then Donald Trump started, I don't know how the fuck they believe this, he started embracing the evangelicals because that's just the racist movements on its own. You know, all of those racist mega pastors in the evangelical movement, they seen that he was racist, so they got their congregation to follow Donald Trump. You know, from the pulpit, they was telling people that Democrats was demons, right? And of course, you know that they was preaching from their Bible about the curse of Canaan and Democrats having black people in it. And you can never side with someone who's been cursed by God. You know, I'm not saying that I heard that firsthand, but that's the mentality of these motherfuckers whenever they listening to that scripture. And that's one of the reasons that you hear white people say that they will never be a Democrat because of their evangelical views, and they could never side with black people that's been cursed. You see? That's why they're so strong in their opposition. Now, people like Sarge and ABC, they're not going to see that connection. All they say is Democrats are evil. Democrats, I would never vote. Why? Dig down into your psychology and tell yourself, wow, how did you get programmed to hate a fucking political party so much? You do that research and find out that you was programmed by your fucking racist master to blindly oppose the opposing political party for reasons that's unknown to you, you fucking moron. Right? Because let's just draw the line. Whenever Ronald Reagan was president, the economy went to shit. He was corrupt with the Iran-Contra scandal. Oliver North, he had this fucking stupid-ass trickle-down economic theory. Right? I remember him firing the people at an airport for striking. All kinds of shit that was against America. Ronald Reagan was a piece of shit president. He was a piece of shit. Even I remember being young and watching the news at 6 o'clock. Even the goddamn Republicans didn't like Ronald Reagan. They would come on there and talk shit about that man. I didn't know what the fuck I was looking at. All I know is that they didn't like Ronald Reagan because they were talking shit about him. And then he got his old ass in the White House. His wife had to take over and all that kind of bullshit. Right? And the economy sucked. But because they hated Jimmy Carter, which was before Ronald Reagan, so much, and Jimmy Carter was a good president. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, he messed up with some foreign shit, but he was a good president. But because they hated Jimmy Carter so much, they weren't gonna elect another goddamn Democrat. So who do they elect? They elected another goddamn Republican, George Bush. And I don't remember too much about Bush because I wasn't really paying attention. When I was a kid, I would have to be home at 6 o'clock and look at the goddamn news because that's what the fuck was on TV. You couldn't turn the TV or whatever the fuck. My granddaddy was sitting there, or my mama was sitting there, and they had the news on, so I had to watch that. But when I was around, when Bush was in, I was running the streets. I was a teenager. I didn't really pay attention to George Bush, but I do know what George Bush did. And he sent my ass to war. You see? So you had two Republican presidents fucked up the economy, got Americans killed. Ronald Reagan was full of goddamn scams, and Bush sent us to goddamn war. And then you had Bill Clinton come in, and a lot of people give Bill Clinton, if that's a Democrat, a lot of people give Bill Clinton credit for having a booming economy because he did have the best economy. He balanced the budget and all that kind of bullshit. I remember that was the fucking headline, right? But I know what happened when Bill Clinton came into office. Is that's when fucking Microsoft and Windows and the computers and all that shit took off, and everybody was buying fucking computers. The economy was fucking booming. Everybody wanted a goddamn computer, and everybody was spending money on computers, building computers, and all that kind of shit. So the economy took off up under Bill Clinton. So you have to give him credit that he had a good economy. So you had two fucking Republicans that fucked up the goddamn economy, sent Americans to war to die. And then you had a Democrat president come in there and make the economy better. And to me, because of the Monica Lewinsky scandal, they wanted to put another goddamn Republican in the White House after Bill Clinton, which was another motherfucking corrupt crook in George Bush. Now, I thought that I would never see a president that was worse than George motherfucking Bush, because George Bush was fucked up. He was slow. He was awkward. You didn't understand what the fuck he was saying half the goddamn time. And he sent us back to war, I believe, under 9/11. And he sent us to the longest lasting war in American history. Before George Bush, we would get in and out of conflicts. Don't quote me on this, but the conflicts wouldn't last long, 4, 5, 6 years or whatever the fuck, 10 years, and we come home. That was a thing. Whenever you sent the troops off the war, they would always have this parades or welcome them home and all that kind of shit before George Bush. But because George Bush was so goddamn corrupt, the housing market fails, the bank failed, the American people, George Bush and Dick Cheney, raised the goddamn debt and deficit, and fucked up the American economy when they handed the presidency over to this black man. Think about that. These white men fucked up this goddamn country. The Bush, and Reagan, and the final Bush really fucked it up. The American people turned to a black man and said, "Save us." That's just the way fucking history is. That's how these white motherfuckers did on their plantation when they turned to the black woman and said, "Take care of my children." When they turned to the black man and said, "I need your back. I need your strength. I need for you to build this and do this," and that they always turn to black people. So after George Bush fucked up the economy, the American people looked at that black man and seen that the white man is a fucking failure, right? And that voice was louder than the critics at the time. So they elected Barack Obama under the most worst conditions that a presidency could come into the office. I mean, the economy was fucked up. The economy was fucked up when Barack Obama took over. So he got in there and did his thing. No scandals, beautiful family, elegant, beloved on the world stage, able to articulate and talk directly to the American people about what his agendas is. Now, Barack Obama had turbulence because racists like Mitch McConnell and all these other racists in America, they was hanging him in empathy, telling him that he wasn't from America. There was death threats on this man's life. There was death threats on his children's life, on his wife's life. They would never commend him, give him any accomplishments. Right, I think the North American trade agreement, I think it started up under Clinton, but Barack Obama kind of fixed it his own way. And then, of course, the Iran deal with Donald Trump threw away. Barack Obama accomplished a lot of things with the Affordable Care Act, My Brother's Keeper, a whole lot of shit Barack Obama did for this country and made Americans feel good about themselves, except for the fucking racists. The whole Tea Party, which was a political movement to discredit anything Barack Obama did. Fox News, which was a propaganda network for the Republicans against Barack Obama. Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Bill O'Reilly, all the normal coons that show up on Fox. All of that media apparatus was directed against Barack Obama like no other time in history. To demonize him, come up with talking points that black Americans still hold on to this day. Every time I hear that Barack Obama ain't never did nothing for black people, I know exactly where the fuck it came from. I'm not going to argue with you when you say that. I just think it's stupid. I know where it originated. Barack Obama ain't did nothing for black people. Now, you ain't never said that about Ronald Reagan. You ain't never said it about Bush. You ain't never said it about Clinton or the other Bush. You ain't never utter one word out of your mouth about them presidents doing anything for black people. But when Barack Obama get to the same level of power as these other white men, the same office, you have to go infect the mind of other black people with that fucking white racist rhetoric. Barack Obama ain't did nothing for black people. I still hear it today. I'm not going to argue with you. You're just stupid. He's the president of the United States of America. If you ain't never posed that question to any other fucking white ass president, why does that have to be a critique for Barack Obama? And your ignorant ass don't know that he has did something for you. He kind of leveled the playing field when it comes to healthcare. It wasn't completely level, right? All of those fucking immigrants that you were complaining about, Barack Obama legally was helping rid some of those immigrants legally in the right method, but he won't all on fucking TV talking about closing the border and all this kind of dumb shit, right? Barack Obama was the best president that this country has ever fucking had. But during his administration, there was an undercurrent of white supremacy and racism and hate and preppers and fucking people that just wanted to, I don't know, just do what they naturally do when they bought us over here in 1619 and hate black people, right? And so much hate was riled up in this country against Barack Obama that after his second term, the propaganda worked. I remember back on BTR, you would hear these guys call in to BTR and have their show and just come up with all kind of conspiracies about Barack Obama. Never mind that George Bush is the one that implemented all that fucking privacy invasion after fucking 9/11 that invades American privacy. All these conspiracies against Barack Obama, and it stuck because it doesn't matter who you talk to today. People will tell you that they dislike Barack Obama, but will never go into detail about why the fuck you dislike Barack Obama. I dislike George Bush because he sent Americans to fucking die. The senior too. I dislike like Ronald Reagan because he was involved in the Iran Contra bullshit, and he was corrupt. And he came up with this fucking stupid ass economic policy called trickle down. Right? I can tell you why I dislike those goddamn presidents, but you can't tell me why you dislike Barack Obama. Sarge would call in about Barack Obama being gay. Had nothing to do with the man. Fox News would have headlines about Barack Obama wearing a goddamn tan suit, eating mustard. Nothing to do with Barack Obama. This is how the propaganda was ramped up against this black man. And then they came up with the conspiracies about him being Muslim, him having this secret plot to take over the goddamn country, empower black people to kill white people, take away people's guns. All of these things was about Barack Obama that wasn't true. About how corrupt his administration was. There was some shit going on with, I can't even remember it real good, but it was something between him and Eric Holder saying something was corrupt. I don't even remember it that well, but they was trying to call that man corrupt. Like I said, that was the best president that this country ever had. But because the propaganda worked so good, It just laid the pathway for Donald Trump to continue, listen to what he did, continue to rile up that fucking racist goddamn section of the country that hated Barack Obama, that Fox News planted the seeds of hate, that Rush Limbaugh on his show every day was having callers, and they emboldened more and more hate against Barack Obama so much that racism from Donald Trump was embraced. They didn't give a damn about Donald Trump being a womanizer, being on that fucking video saying that he gonna grab women by his private parts. They didn't give a damn about him sleeping with a porn star and paying her off. They didn't give a damn about him cheating on his pregnant wife. They didn't give a damn about Donald Trump stiffing working people, like contractors that work for him. I mean, all of these things was fucking out there before Donald Trump even became president. But because white America has been programmed through propaganda with so much hate for so goddamn long, they just wanted a white motherfucking man in the White House. And they didn't give a fuck about his corruption. But here's the key. They was jealous of the popularity of Barack Obama. They was jealous of Barack Obama, so they tried to imitate Barack Obama's popularity, and in doing so, people like ABC and Sarge have to blindly compromise their fucking morals and their values and their ethics, so they can say, "Ooh, Donald Trump, he knows it all. Look at what he figured out." They have to blindly say that stupid shit to try to mimic the popularity and the success of Barack Obama. And it's all phony. It's all phony. But it's working for the Republicans and Donald Trump, while these people looking like fucking idiots. That's why I don't listen to them. They're unintelligent. They're stupid. But they try to copy the success, the worldwide success of Barack Obama. I mean, it was amazing when Barack Obama was nominated and elected. I mean, worldwide, people celebrated. The whole fucking planet. It was crazy. But at the same time, I was listening to Sean Hannity downplay it all. You know, he was talking about Barack Obama got the columns out, and they're treating him like he's a king. They're coronating him and all this kind of shit. That's the rhetoric that was going on about Barack Obama. But as soon as Donald Trump got into office, they coronated him. They treated him like a king. Donald Trump was begging for the Peace Prize. He was wishing the world would embrace him the way that they embraced Barack Obama. And they didn't. Hell, this country didn't. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest protests in American history happened in Donald Trump's first presidency. So I think that would angered him a little bit. And at some point in time, he wasn't getting the welcome that he wanted. He came a little fucking angrier. And he don't give a damn about the Americans now. Right? He don't care. He's the president. He can do whatever the fuck he want to do in his mindset. That's what he said in his first presidency. He got the power to do whatever. And I'm just, spitballing what he said, but he said something to that sort. So now he's in his first presidency, fucking up. His children are using the White House like a goddamn piggy bank. He when I ain't gonna go through all his term, but all his term was fucking corrupt. His first term was fucking corrupt. But whenever it came to him running again, he tried to stack the deck by calling President Zelensky in Ukraine and withholding money from Ukraine in order for President Zelensky to make a comment on American media about the Bidens being corrupt. And that's what got his dumb ass impeached. Because he was trying to stack the deck like he always did his whole fucking life. And it got him impeached. But because of years and years of racism and Tea Party politicians supporting a white man, racists like Mitch McConnell, even though Donald Trump was guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors, because we had witnesses in that damn impeachment. We had statements in that impeachment. Everything that in that impeachment proved that Donald Trump was trying to interfere in the election by getting Zelensky to come on American media. I mean, he's guilty of it. But because of the years and years of white racists getting embedded in Washington, and rich people in the pockets of Donald Trump, that impeachment didn't go like it should have. And I think they impeached him in the House, and in the Senate you had these racist ass Republicans that didn't take it the rest of the way. And then on his way out, this motherfucker routed up Americans, white Americans, those same racist motherfuckers that's been programmed over the years. That's who you looking at when you look at MAGA now. You're looking at the KKK. You're looking at the Tea Party. You're looking at all those pissed off white people that was mad that Barack Obama became president and ran this motherfucking country better than any president before. You're looking at all these white mad ass motherfuckers at the end of Donald Trump's term wanted to actually keep that white man in office, and they went up to Washington, broke the fucking laws, broke into the goddamn Capitol, shitted on the goddamn hallways, threatened to kill people, threatened to hang Mike Pence, beat up police officers. They took buses up there. Donald Trump and his fucking goddamn PACs paid for the transportation for these people to get to Washington, so they can overthrow a free and fair American election. This was their agenda. Donald Trump did not intend to leave the motherfucking White House. Because he called racists to Washington to stop the election of Joe Biden. And those two impeachments and the attempted coup, the insurrection was enough for Americans to say no more. And they elected Joe Biden. in which I thought that was the end of Donald Trump. I really did. But I underestimated how corrupt this fucking racist piece of shit was, using his power and his money and his ties to billionaires and corporations and influence to cheat. I'm saying it, to cheat in the election against Kamala Harris. Donald Trump and Elon Musk was buying votes. Donald Trump and Elon Musk, there was news reports done to where they was throwing out ballots. And those ballots added up to fucking tens of thousands of ballots that was thrown out. You know, like whenever you have questions about ballots, signatures, and all that kind of bullshit, those shits were thrown out. You can look up the goddamn articles. I didn't raise it as an issue because, for one, I'm a nobody. And for two, it seemed like the fucking Democrat Party should have been pointing this shit out. It seemed like Kamala Harris should have been pointing this shit out. It seemed like somebody with more fucking influence and power should have been pointing out that illegally Donald Trump and Elon Musk stole that fucking election. But that's not my goddamn place. Now, if people want evidence, I could go try to pull up the reports and all that, but it's not my goddamn job. Donald Trump stole that goddamn election. That's a fact. That's not been reported yet. So he stole the election. Okay, I'm gonna run with that. And now that he's back in the White House, he's on a fucking revenge fucking tour as the president of the United States, breaking the law, stealing fucking money, being fucking racist, firing black people. He created concentration camps. He's murdering Americans in American streets. He's mobilized fucking military in American streets. He lies every day whenever he speaks. He's misleading the American people by not being honest with it. He's demolished the fucking White House. Literally bulldozed the fucking White House. But because he's a white man, white America ain't got shit to say about it. Imagine if Barack Obama would have fucking exchanged the goddamn... I think Barack Obama used the tennis court that existed at the White House to install a basketball goal. These motherfuckers lost their goddamn mind. He didn't disrupt the White House yards at all. He just installed a fucking basketball goal. White America went crazy talking about Barack Obama is fucking up the White House. Michelle Obama planted a garden at the White House. These people went fucking ballistic. But let a white, racist, corrupt, pedophile, fucking sexual predator, rapist run a goddamn bulldozer through one of America's most historical buildings. Flatten that motherfucker. These people ain't got shit to say. This is why I don't fuck with these people no more. Stressful. It's stressful. I try not to stress. Now, I know I've been talking for a while, But the latest news, I guess I did this build up to all of this shit because it all go together. The latest news is that through all them years, all that white fucking anger and rage that was built up from the Tea Party, being angry at Barack Obama, all of these white racists that were scared that black people was going to enslave them, with the creation of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and whatever fucking neo-Nazi fucking social media platform, the Joe Rogans, the Nick Fuentes's, with all of these fucking racists over the years, the Fox News and the Sean Hannity and the Laura Ingrams that showed up at the White House on January the 6th. And when when Donald Trump got in office, these motherfuckers went to jail because they committed real crimes. They hurt real people. They damaged federal property. They broke into a federal building. These white motherfuckers was getting held accountable little bit by little bit, but they was getting held accountable to the tune of thousands of people, I think, was incarcerated for January the 6th. And then 2 or 3 days ago, I was riding down the fucking road, going to Walmart, because that's what the hell I do. Get me some avocados, because I'm a fat ass and I need to lose some weight. So, you know, I was trying to go get me some health food. And I had on MSNBC, and I heard that the Trump lawsuit against the IRS somehow or another turned into the Justice Department announcing a $1.1 billion anti-weaponization fund to compensate Trump allies. All right, y'all hold on for 1 second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. But it turned into the Justice Department announcing a $1.7 billion anti-weaponization fund to compensate Trump allies. When I heard that, honestly, the first thing I did was I got mad with black people. I got mad as fuck with black people. I got mad at everybody that called in here talking about we can't get no reparations because America don't have the money. I got mad at every conversation that I heard about reparations when it pertained, well, what you gonna do with the money? Black people ain't gonna spend their money, right? I got mad because I was like, I know I was trying to have the right conversation about reparations, but other people were having conversation that was nonsensical about reparations. So that's why I was upset. I wasn't really mad with black people. I was just thinking that, the conversation that we've been having was kind of fucked up about the way we was having the conversation. When I was trying to explain about having a black political action committee and lawyers and money to get this thing rolling, people always poo-pooed it or whatever. They was living in this fantasy world about winning the lottery and doing things with money instead of looking at the government and trying to manipulate the levers to make it work in our favor. Okay? That's the way I was thinking. Is that we gonna have to somehow or another make the government do right by us. It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen by Umar Johnson or Tariq Nasheed or Yvette Cornell or black people on social media screaming that we need reparation. That ain't the way that's gonna happen. We need to get these politicians in our pockets and manipulate all the politicians, not Democrat politicians, all the politicians, convince them of our story, of our plight. And we don't do that with words. We do that with funds. Every one of these motherfuckers in Washington love money, and somehow or another black people need to figure out that's the key to getting shit done for our community. If you can sit up in a goddamn church and give them $1 billion every goddamn year, the fund that I'm talking about, the method that I'm talking about, is not out of reach. But we're going to move on. And I was upset with black people that say the government can't get it done when Donald Trump just somehow or another supposedly acquired $1.7 billion for these white racists that broke the fucking law. Do y'all hear me? These racist pieces of shit can't compensate black people for the Holocaust in our history that we're still going through today. These pieces of shit allowed the last fucking goddamn Tulsa, Oklahoma survivor to die without being compensated. These pieces of shit, like Sarge and ABC and other coons, will always tell us that we're victims and we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and the government ain't gonna do shit for us. Why are we relying on the goddamn government? And my argument would always be, I pay taxes. That's why I expect the government to do something. I pay fucking taxes. But they would always tell us that the government giving us handouts. They would always paint this image about single moms getting welfare, about people on welfare being in grocery stores buying things that you don't supposed to have on welfare, about black people buying rims with welfare money. They would always tell us that somehow or another the government should not be involved in our lives in such a way, even though every one of us pay taxes. And I'm making this comparison, it ain't gonna do no good, but I'm making this comparison because even though what Donald Trump is doing is 100% illegal, 100% corrupt, I'm trying to paint the other side of the picture, is that there are methods of doing things that we haven't thought of yet. that the money that passes through the American government is way more than enough to compensate every fucking descendant of slavery. But you'll have niggas call in here, we ain't got that kind of money, and why should my taxpayer money go to this, and all this kind of bullshit that I've been hearing over the years. And this has been in the headline for about 2 days. I ain't seen one motherfucker say anything against this thievery of our fucking money to go to white racists that broke the fucking law on January the 6th. I heard that Enrique Otario was requesting, and that's the leader of the Proud Boys, $2 million from this fund. Enrique Otario, a confused brown man, Hispanic, white, racist piece of shit that went to jail for conspiracy. I don't know what all the charges was, but it was dealing with his racist ways. Convicted. A known fucking felon. And now Donald Trump supposedly, if he keep up to his promises, is going to give this fucking racist $2 million. Donald Trump pardoned fucking pedophiles, child molesters, criminals, felons. And all of these people are in line to receive compensation for breaking the fucking law. This is corrupt. This is evil. This is wrong. Well, like I said, I ain't gonna worry about it. I ain't gonna let it stress me. There ain't shit I can do. The only thing I can do and point out in this example of what we're watching here is whenever, I didn't even have it expanded on the screen so y'all can see the headline from PBS. Let me fix that. But that's the headline there. The only thing I can point out about this is that whenever we're having conversations amongst ourselves about issues that pertain to us, we need to have we need to have a different mindset that don't include the influence of white supremacy. Because every opposition to reparations in these conversations, it was ingrained in our society by white supremacy. Every objection, even when you had conversations about what individuals was going to do if they was compensated, that's a white supremacist talking point. No other community is telling, well, I can guarantee you that whoever is going to get this $1.7 billion, they're not having conversations about them wasting the goddamn money. They're not having conversations about them spending it on fucking rims. They're not having conversations about you're not going to spend the money correctly. They're not having conversations where we should take the money and put it some damn where and build up. They're not having those goddamn conversations because they feel like they are due that money and we live in America and they can do whatever the fuck they want to do with their property whenever they fucking get it. All of those wasted conversations about reparations in the black community, I just have to shake my head when I hear the conversations going that way. Because that's not, we supposed to be talking about strategic ways of achieving it. Not what Quanisha gonna do with her shit when she get it. Don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I ain't picking on your mama's boy, but if mama's boy got reparations and he wanted to go buy up all the fucking weed in North America, I wouldn't give a shit. It ain't none of my business. But that's the conversation that we were having about what people gonna do with the goddamn money. No, those are the wrong conversations. I know I've been talking for a while. This is definitely and y'all want to call into the damn show at 1-717-908-1834. And I'll open the mic, and the participant code is 624-794. And I'll get you on here. You can add to the conversation whether you agree with me or not. You know, I don't do that. I try to speak my piece, and you know how I think. I'm not right 100% of the time. And of course, you know, people think however they think, and you got your own opinions. But we're definitely looking at a corrupt, lying, thieving government, without a doubt, that has clearly have been going by a brand new constitution in this country. That's what we're looking at. The Constitution and the laws of this land does not apply in America no more. All right. Hey, what's up, Joshua?
Hey, what's up?
What's happening, man?
Not much, man. Well, we are bear witnessing the racial psychology when it comes to black people being compensated for past wrongdoing that we are really entitled to. Okay? And I'm sure now the white supremacists and the white so-called liberals are pissed off at Donald Trump for putting this out there. Because now he just exposed their lies, their hypocrisy. He exposed it for them. He said, well, because these were white people, we're going to, quote, attempt to give them reparation. Now, we're not even sure if Congress is going to approve this shit. But it's what we know that he was bold enough to put it out there.
No, okay. let me correct you. Let me correct you. This ain't he's doing it in a way where Congress is not involved. This okay. He sued the IRS for like like a whole bunch of money, and then in order for the IRS to settle the money, to settle that case, part of that settlement is $1.7 billion, and that fund is going to be controlled by the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice, to my understanding, is supposed to figure out how to distribute that money, so it ain't going through Congress.
Okay. That was something I didn't hear that part, but I think it's what 1.76 something like that. 1.76 something.
1.7 billion.
Okay. Yeah. So you know it's you know and this is why sometimes, you know, like you were saying earlier, when these conversations come up about reparations from the black people, and of course there were some folks. Well, that ain't gonna happen. They don't got the money to give us. We can bankrupt the country. Yeah, that boy. Yeah, sometimes you take a deep breath and yeah, but
Yeah,
this is cool,
when I
man.
hear that, man, I was like, people do not know how much fucking money flows through this motherfucking country. They don't know.
Right, yeah,
They could reparation.
yeah,
They could give us
yeah.
reparations, and it wouldn't even hurt the goddamn budget.
In the country, no, it would, no, no, no. And like, and I want to hear all these folks who were saying, like you said, the tax dollar thing. Um, here, here these Latinos who came out to they was against reparations because that's their tax dollars, tax dollars, etc. I want to see them now that their white daddy says, I'm gonna give this money to some racist white people who don't even like them at all. Okay, but yeah, but I wonder how this is gonna turn out. You see, I wonder how dumb some of these black politicians who was anti-reparation, like Burgess Owens and a couple other ones, who was anti-reparation when it came to black people. Burgess Owens was very adamant at the hearings on reparations. When they did the hearings, he was very adamant that black people should not get reparations. You know what I'm saying? He was very adamant about that. He used to play football back in the day. And I'm like, this Negro who was able to make money playing football, have some success in politics, then you're going to have the nerve, the audacity to get on, to come to a hearing. And that's why they want him there, because they knew that he would be against it. And say that black people should not receive reparations. Damn. You know, but yeah, so we're gonna see what his coon ass is saying now. Okay, and I'll get and yes, I get it. Donald Trump had did this on purpose. You know, he said he would sue the IRS, which I don't understand how the IRS even buck danced with that bastard. I don't even understand how he was able to even make them bow down and say that they would even settle with him that type of money. I don't even understand how that should even happen. You know what I mean? And there's a couple other things that came out in the media that within the last 2 weeks. This thing with the IOL, in college football, they trying to pass a bill where they will have to pay these college athletes for playing football. Why these college organizations make billions of dollars from these athletes, particularly black athletes, running down a damn football field with a football in their hand, etc. You see what I mean? So it's just things that they're doing that just it was something else that came out too. I'm trying to remember what it was. I'm like, how the hell are they allowing this dude to do? It's just funny how they're allowing this dude to do these things, and they're just bowing down. But anyway, yeah. So it's a lot of things. It comes to me after a while. The two things that it was something else they did. It was PayPal. PayPal has set aside $530 million to give to black businesses. You know, the bastards had a nerve to tell PayPal that they will file a discrimination suit under DEI if they gave that money to black businesses. Can you believe that? And PayPal had the nerve to back out of it. And I'm sitting there going, you know, I would say to PayPal, did you really want to give those black businesses, small businesses, money, or are you with a showboat? Because it's no way you're too big of a company to be bowing down to Donald Trump at this point about that when this has nothing to do with no damn DEI. You're a private company. You can donate and give money to who the hell you want to. Truthfully, You can. You can do that. So I don't understand why, in fact, they that they would back out of that. You know. So yeah. So that was one of them that came out within the last 2 weeks. That story came out. He's still hounding Nike. And telling Nike not to hire blacks because that was DEI and that was that's discrimination against whites. He's still hounding Nike about that. You see, um, and there was another company, of course, Saks, Goldman and Sachs. That situation, I still don't understand how that happened. But anyway, and these companies have big time lawyers. So I don't understand why they bowing down to Donald, or they bowing down to Donald Trump like that.
Well, do you know Peter Thiel?
No, I've never know.
Well, Peter Thiel owns PayPal, and he's one of Donald Trump's billionaire buddies. So he's racist. He's racist.
Okay. All right. So this is why they're backing out of it. Okay. Because I kept saying, now that's too easy for them to back out some shit. Because they have no proof. This is this shit they call DI has nothing to do with them giving black businesses money. So I don't understand Peter Thiel. If that's the case, then well, Peter, that's a contradiction. Now I hope those black businesses get together and sue his ass. Why would you go to black businesses and tell black businesses, I'm going to give you this money, but then you back out of it when Donald Trump threatens to throw a lawsuit against your company, PayPal, because that's DEI. See, they throwing shit out there and hoping it stick. And it's only sticking because these guys ain't brilliant. They're not brilliant. They're diabolical, but they're not brilliant. They throwing stuff out there so and thinking it's going to stick because they know that they got judges who's going to back them up.
Well, they got money, so it doesn't matter whether it's illegal, above board, whatever they want, they just do it because they got money. You know, it don't matter. They just do it because they got money.
And then they got this they going after the NFL. They telling me NFL. Of course, you know about the Rooney Rule. Me and Big O C was talking about this some nights ago, and I was saying that the Rooney Rule, of course, we all know what that is. If you're into sports, that was a measure that was put in place in the NFL to make sure that black coaches are getting interviewed. It didn't say that they would get hired as head coaches. That's just to interview them, to make sure that they're being interviewed in the process, that they're able to get interviewed. One of these damn lawyers threw a lawsuit and says that, oh, that's discriminating, and they try to label it as DEI, not knowing what the Rooney Rule is really about. It's not about hiring black coaches. It's about giving them the interview. That's it. So that's not promised that because they interview a black coach, he's going to get the job. That's just making sure he gets the opportunity. You see. So yeah, so there's a lot of things that these devils are doing. You see. And in this thing with the money, etc. Yeah, we don't know how that's going to turn out. I still don't know how that's going to turn out, but it shows them, like we said, like I've always said, really, and a couple other guys on TRS, people in this in my circle, in my personal life, have said no, that they got the money to give us reparations. That's no question. And again, we got Negroes who Kunos who like to say, well, that's a handout, and you know, and that all comes from that being ashamed, Tyrone. There's a lot of a portion of black people who really ashamed. Yeah. They're ashamed of what happened to us. That's why they say that's a handout. That's why they say that. That's a handout. Shut the fuck up. You don't need the money, and then don't go take it. Take the check back. If they send you $1 million, Mister, that's a handout. Send that damn check back. Send it back. But I guarantee you, your black ass ain't gonna send shit back. You're gonna take that $1 million check and go deposit it. That's what you're gonna do. So, but yeah, man, that's all I had to say about that, Tyrone. But yeah, there's quite a few things going on. But I'm glad this happened because it just kind of exposed them a little bit. It kind of exposed them to show folks in this, that they got money to compensate the disenfranchised. 400 years. They got the money to do that. Jim Crow, voting rights. That they did. They're taking the voting rights protection that we use, the civil rights clauses and the amendments, etc. They've taken that and they used that and they reversed it on us, and that's all they did. They got there's a guy by the name of Kevin Roberts, I believe that's his name. Kevin Roberts, a white guy. Now he ain't the first white guy that went to school and got a PhD in African American studies. He ain't the first, but what he did as the first, he studied black people, and he studied the civil rights clauses. He studied the amendments, and he's able to go back, and he's the president of the Heritage Foundation. And he went back, he showed them white supremacists just what they did, and this is how we can do to get it back. Meaning that he said we're going to flip it on them. And because our judges are in place, they're able to allow them to flip it, and these judges know they're flipping it. And why they have the Voting Rights Act, and what happened with the Voting Rights Act. Okay? And so they're able to flip it and say it discriminated against white, which they really have no merit. The judge, John Roberts, the judge, when he made the statement, he said, because his idea was always to get rid of the Civil Rights Act. But he said, he argued that the Civil Rights Acts are no longer needed because there's no more racism. Now, a good judge would have said, motherfucker, that's your opinion. That's not a fact. And you can't come up in this courtroom on this Supreme Court and just state your damn opinion like we're supposed to accept that. That's what should be said to him. No, that's your opinion. Because as soon as they changed it, they were able to flip parts of it. All them states in the South fell right in line. Because that's something that, and this ain't the first time they have went after the Civil Rights Act. This ain't the first time they've tried this again. This ain't the first time they've tried this. They did it before. They tried to do it before. But I think we all know by now what they want to do is get 3/4. I think it's 2/3 or 3/4 of the Senate and Congress of the seats, and then they're gonna go after the 14th Amendment. That's their plan. That's really what they really want to do is get the 14th Amendment. Okay, that's really the plan. So our work is cut out for us again. We're back at the crossroads again. Our great-great-grandmothers, Tyrone, that came out the South. My great-great-grandparents came out to Jacksonville, Florida, and South Carolina. You know, my great-grandfather, I never knew him. My mother's father, he was from the Bahamas, but we never knew him. But what we do know, that my mother's mother, came out of Jacksonville, Florida. Her sisters and brothers came out of South Carolina because they left, which is funny. They left one part of the South and went to another part of the South. I said, why would you go? You don't understand this. And eventually they came up to Delaware, you know, like most Southern people did, particularly from the Carolinas and places like that. They came up to Delaware and, you know, Maryland and places like that. But yeah, so this ain't the first time that they have did something like this, that they went after the Civil Rights Act. It ain't the first time. And so we're at a crossroads again. And it's insulting that we're at this crossroads again with them, with this. But this is something that they always want to do, Tyrone. It's something that they always want to do. But the 14th is the amendment. That's really what they want to do, is get that. That once, if they can get that and strike and get rid of that, it's a done deal. But we still got power and voting. Just because they took some of them districts, they'll get out there and vote. You can still get out there and vote. It doesn't even matter in the scope of things. Just go vote anyway. Just vote. That's my opinion on that. But that's what I have to say, man.
All right, I appreciate it. Yeah, the 14th Amendment. If they get rid of that, then you'll be 3/5 of a human again, I believe. That's what overturned the 14th Amendment. That's what the 14th Amendment overturned.
And we might be back on them damn plantations with these motherfuckers.
Well, that ain't gonna happen. I'm just telling you that.
I don't put shit past them, bro. I don't put nothing past these devils. Nothing.
Well, if anything moved toward that direction, I'm just saying that there'd be a lot of bloodshed in America. Black people ain't conditioned for that. But instead of the plantation, they can make it worse, like they're doing, making our economics bad, ensuring that we can't get into these institutions and educate ourselves, making sure that we always make low wages, try to make sure the money go to white Americans. They don't have to enslave us to make our conditions fucking fucked up. You know what I mean? But when you talking about physically, I don't see that happening, man. I wouldn't put it past them attempting to do that. But I'm just looking at the way Black Americans are right now, right? And I don't see Black Americans easily going back into those conditions. But like you said, I can't predict what will and won't happen. But I know there'll be a lot of pushback if that was the case.
And like I said, if they get 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate, that they can make some shit happen as far as the 14th Amendment. And that I do know. But like you said, the slavery thing and all that, that's my own thinking. That's how I think. I'm thinking like, these motherfuckers do anything. They do anything because, see, they're pissed off at us, Tyrone. See, we weren't supposed to come out of slavery and build shit, period. That's what fucked them up.
Yeah.
We wasn't supposed to come out of slavery and do none of that. We wasn't, so we really embarrassed them. They said, damn, these motherfuckers came out of slavery, building cities for themselves. Jim Crow comes along, we started to invent shit. We was inventing shit. The cotton gin. We had men like Elijah McCoy. We had men, we had a sister who invented the heating furnace. I mean, we was coming out. We was doing over 100 inventions came out of Black people. During Jim Crow, on up to the 60s, and same today. We're still inventing shit, and that really fucked them up. Like, God, what? So they were they've been mad at us ever since, really. And all this, we love Black Americans. Oh, y'all so American and all that. All that was. Now we see, all that was just a lie. And that's been my contention for the longest. Even before I came on TRS and when I came on TRS, that's been my stance. I've never deviated from that. And I'm saying they've always wanted to try to turn the clock back on us because we embarrassed them. Or when I say we, the folks that came before us embarrassed them. We was not supposed to do the things that we did. We was not supposed to we want to be homeowners and own our own home and control our own destiny as a people. We was not supposed to do that. You see? So that's how I look at that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give it to Black Americans. I critique my community a lot, but I will say that we are a resilient people, and what white America is afraid of is black power. White
Yeah.
America is historically afraid of black power because every time, like Joshua said, we build something, they tear it down. You know, when you look at Tulsa and Rosewood, um, when the New Deal came, they redlined us into our own neighborhoods because they was afraid of living beside us and putting us in these low economic conditions so we can fail. The GI Bill, you know, it was helping white Americans buy homes and stuff like that, and it was denied black soldiers for a long time because that was a way of building wealth. You know, black farmers was disenfranchised. You know,
Yeah. And still
they
being disenfranchised today.
yeah,
Still doing. They you know what about 2 or 3 years? Well, they were saying that black farmers got funding. No, they did not. Joe Biden did set aside funding for the. Eventually, somehow he was able to sneak that in there and try to fund black farmers. And the white farmers got mad and they filed a racial discrimination suit against Joe Biden doing that for black farmers. Can you believe that? They asked, and after the white farmers got funding, they got some funding, but then got mad when Joe Biden said, "Wait a minute." At first, Joe Biden said his hands was kind of tied, but he was able to. He did something. He was able to sneak it in there, and somehow it got out, and they filed a discrimination suit against the Biden administration and the folks who was putting this funding together for black farmers, and they filed. And that kind of killed it.
Well, there was this. I remember talking about on TRS a long time ago. In that line of thinking that there was this company or corporation that put together some funding for black women to build businesses.
Yeah, Goldman Sachs.
Yeah,
Goldman Sachs.
And they got rid of that. You know, like I said, they're afraid of black power. And the only way that they can oppress us now is economically, right? They can't take our minds and our ingenuity or none of that stuff. So they're doing all of this to hold us down, you know.
Right. And that lawsuit came from, believe it or not, a Jewish guy. David Bloom is his name. Name is Bloom. Yeah, I think David Bloom was his name. And David Bloom was a Jewish guy, white guy. He's still a white guy to me. He was a white guy that lost this election, a local election against a black guy, and got mad. And ever since then, he's been on a crusade to fight against black people. So basically what he does the same thing. They found a loophole how to reverse things on black people. And again, I was shocked that Goldman Sachs took that so lying down because Goldman Sachs, most of those dudes who work for Goldman Sachs, most of them guys are lawyers. Most of them are lawyers. They're cool lawyers. That's all they are. They just a conglomerate of business folks and lawyers who came together and built Goldman Sachs. That's all they are. An investment firm. That's all they are. That's what they are. So I was really shocked that they took that so lying down from Mr. Bloom, and they allowed him to go in the courtroom and pull that stunt with them without them fighting. So that made me kind of think about Mr. Sachs.
Well, you know, and during that whole time, Joshua, I got to be honest, there was a lot of black people, black men that was hating on that program for black women too. You know, so there was a lot of pushback against that Goldman Sachs deal for black women. I thought it was an excellent idea. You know, but they got rid of it. Like I said, they don't want to see black power. They're afraid of black power, but that's not, none of this stuff is going to stop black people from succeeding. We're going to find a way. We always find a way. Like I said, we're always resilient. This $1.7 billion that they're giving the white racists, there ain't shit we can do about that if it goes through. There ain't a damn thing we can do about that. We just have to find our own path. But I just opened a Lisa line. What's up, Miss Elisa?
Hi, Ty Brown. What's
What's that?
up?
What's happening?
Nothing. I heard y'all was talking about that Goldman Sachs. Yeah, it was very successful. And I know, like, I said about like, I think it was like a year or two later, they were talking about more money. They was going to continue to invest in it because it was actually profitable, and it had actually, they realized that it was a very good, untapped, in a sense, you could say market or industry that was really it was working, and it seemingly was profitable. We're talking about more money that they were going to put with that as the years come, but as we know, all those things, you know, came to a halt. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even
Hey,
like to
Tyrone,
discuss that.
hey, now what did happen from that? The sister who the woman who was spearheading that, and she got funding from some other people. You know, she left and went to the continent and got funding. She got like $200 million or something like that that she raised or something like that. But they said that she did something else to get that money. They said she raised like $200 million. So somebody helped her get some money from somewhere. I read that too. That did happen. So kudos for her. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I skimmed through a story about her. I read it just a little bit. I didn't read the whole thing, but I was glad to see that she did get funding from somebody. Gave her some funding, and it was $200 million. So that was pretty good.
Well, I'm glad to hear people actually benefited off of it or whatever. And I was just Googling. It looked like they had to rebrand the name because it was called 1 million Black Women, and they had to rebrand the name or something like that. So maybe it's still going in the background or something. I don't know. I can't tell from what I'm reading here. Just skimming over. But you know, people disliked it. You know, because it had the word black in it.
Black,
you
yeah,
know,
exactly. And they're doing it across the country, Tyrone. They're doing that on college campuses. Some of the black student unions can't use the word black. You said you got to be kidding. You know, I'm like, you got to be goddamn kidding me, really? And so they try to do the boycott with the hopefully the black athletes and the colleges will stand up with these states that got these. Of course, these redistricting, that these black college athletes will stand up and stop going to these schools and maybe start going to HBCUs, and HBCUs got to stand up to the plate and say, hey, we might can't give you this money, but we can give you this much money, but we can give you this if you come play for our school. You know, step up. You know what I'm saying? That can happen. But we need the athletes to stand up. We need them dudes in the NFL to stand up. The NFL dudes, they need to stand up. I mean, I like football too, but sometimes you got to stand up for a purpose.
Well, I kind of understand why people like athletes and other. I understand why they don't move like that, because just think about it. An individual coming from low economic means, work his whole life through high school, through college, trying to achieve an athletic goal, right? Yeah. He might not have that mindset of fighting for the black struggle. He's concentrated on his objective of being successful and all that kind of stuff. So it might miss those people. Some do have that mindset. But I don't think the majority of them do. Now, if you want to change that, those athletes got to be educated on the history of their
Mhm.
people, on what would be important to their community and things like that. But I don't think they have those conversations. Not all of them anyway.
Mhm.
And what
Yeah.
I'm noticing is a lot of these celebrities and athletes don't get educated until they get on social media. And then a lot
Yeah.
of them wake up. But
Yeah.
a lot of them probably
Yeah.
just still thinking about making it for their mama and for their daddy. Just doing just regular stuff. Have a regular mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I seen when the voting rights thing went away. I seen a lot of people getting on social media telling, making an announcement. These athletes in these states should not play for these schools. And I get why they saying that, but you forgetting that kid that grew up trying to make it, and his
Mhm. Yeah.
mindset. Uh, it's a good
Yeah.
gesture. It's I think it's the right gesture to say that, but if they don't act, I kind of understand why they don't act because they're not educated. I ain't saying they ain't educated. I'm saying they not educated on the history of our people and our
Mhm.
struggles enough to actually
Mhm.
give up their career or try to move and risk
Yeah.
making it.
Yeah, and I think there's gonna be some that's gonna take a stand. I think I know there was one in 2018. There was a I think it was a running back, and one of the schools he was going to, they put up the Confederate flag, and he
Mm-hmm.
told, he said, "I tell you what, that flag stay up. Uh, I'm not playing a goddamn thing." That's what he told him. Don't you know the next day it took that damn Confederate flag down?
Well, see that's a strong man, a strong young man, and
Yeah, he told me, he said he stopped playing.
but see, all of them on his
Yeah,
team wasn't like that. You get what I'm saying?
yeah. Mm.
And then some of them just
And,
some people just sit back and let it play out.
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I can't
yeah,
blame them kids, man. I wish there was more activists involved. I really do. I wish that was the case. But I'm looking at the reality of a young African American man in this country just trying to make it. Just trying to be something. You know.
yeah. And some of those, and like you said, there was some activists that came out of some sports world. There were some athletes who were activists.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, there was some that were active. See, at that time, that they could be active. Now, there were some of them that sacrificed. Like John Carlos and Tommy Smith and all. They got, quote this word, blackball. They got blackball for what they did.
Well, that's what happened to Kaepernick, man.
Yeah, Kaepernick got blackballed. They got him the same way. Yeah, yeah. The other guys like Jim Brown and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't get blackballed, but they had that stigma about them, but they did it a little differently too. John Carlos was right in their face with it, with the Black Power fist.
Well, I think even Muhammad Ali got blackballed for a little while, didn't he? He got kicked out of the Olympics or something other.
No, well, in the Vietnam War, he was telling me he wasn't going over to fight them folks. Them folks didn't did nothing to him.
But they kicked him out of they blackballed him in the boxing league for a while, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was something other they did to him.
Yeah. He got 6 years, and while he was in jail, he couldn't box. But then he was able to come out, and then eventually later, he was able to come back to box. So he missed a lot of years in boxing. That's what people don't understand. He missed a lot of years. Jack Johnson's quiet. He had some activism because there was a law made for him. That law was what? What was that law? To keep him from doing what?
Yeah, man. We living in some weird times, Joshua.
Mann Act law. Remember, he went off into Mexico with the white woman, and they were saying, "Oh no, we're gonna get this Negro." I mean, that they created a law that you couldn't do this thing called what? Wrong state line, across lines with a woman was illegal.
Yeah, that was because of him.
That's where all that came out of from.
Yep.
So again, he was kind of acting. He didn't. I don't think Jack Johnson really realized how much activism that played in the part in his life. I guess until he got older and old, then he realized, oh shit, damn, I did that. That was because of me. So, but yeah, that was Jack Johnson, Joe Louis. The thing with Max Schmeling, the German boxer, and Hitler, that the German was a superior fighter, and it came out later on that Max Schmeling didn't feel that way. He said that was Hitler. That was at that time the guy was the leader of Germany. He said I didn't. He said he never felt like that. He looked at Joe Louis as just a boxer. That's what he said. He said that later on in life he made that comment. He said I didn't think that way. He said that was Hitler. So, but even with that, I remember my grandmother telling me that they always sitting at the radio with the fight, cheering on Joe Louis to fight this German. She said I remember that. She said, yeah, we was happy for Joe Louis when he beat him. Yeah.
Well, like I said, they're afraid of black power, man. And you're talking about an era in America when white people, if they fought a black opponent, they would fucking get mad as shit that the black guy won. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So they would get angry and they would even fight because the black guy won.
Yeah, they even go and find some blacks to list. Like when Jack Johnson became the heavyweight world champion, you ain't went out and list some black people because of that. I said, ain't that some shit over a boxing match?
Yeah, and they kept putting their white heroes in the ring and getting steadily disappointed. So that's like a parallel to society. Whenever they see black people get successful and win, they get mad as shit. That's one of the reasons that Donald Trump coming up with this $1.7 billion for these fucking criminals, these fucking rapists, these child molesters, and it's right here in America where they're taking money and giving it to fucking criminals because they're white. Because they are white. Yeah. That's why they're getting that, if they get it.
Yep, exactly. Because they're white. And I've always said that. Because they're white. They give them shit because they're white.
So I don't want to ever hear that this country is not racist. This country is definitely racist to its core.
Yep.
Cause I mean, like it ain't been long enough, but I ain't been seeing enough pushback on this fucking $1.7 billion offered to Trump's people. I ain't been seeing enough pushback on it, and
I have. I've seen a lot of pushback on it.
I ain't been seeing enough.
Until something can be done, you have it. I've seen a lot of pushback, but until they can push it back, I don't really think that that's really the goal, though. I think it's all to do with him and his family not being audited about them taxes.
Well, that was part of the agreement from the IRS. Yeah, see, but that was part of the agreement about his family. But the other part was this $1.7 billion fund that is controlled by the deal.
What is the most important part was the taxes. We were going to pay that $100 million in taxes.
Yeah.
And so they don't have to do. That's basically what this was. And if I get the slush fund, great. If I don't get the slush fund, then oh well. But it was basically about them taxes and them audits that they don't want. That's basically what.
Well, it was all corrupt. Every bit of that shit that he did with the IRS was illegal. It was illegal because he's in charge of the government, and being that he's in charge of the government, he's in charge of the IRS. So you can't sue your goddamn self. So he sued himself, and then took a settlement from himself because he's in charge of the IRS. That shit all illegal.
So he want to pay that. He want to pay that $100 million, and to keep him off him and his family and their business from audits. That's what this is basically about. And if they could get the slush fund, terrific. If they could get that too, terrific. But it's basically about them taxes. That's how I see it.
Well, yeah, he said that his family not going to be audited, he's not going to be audited, and all of that kind of bullshit. That was part of the agreement. And I mean, because he in the IRS, because he's in charge of the IRS, they just did what the fuck the boss said. You know, he's in charge.
Now, let me ask you a question. would they have did that for Obama?
Of
Nope.
course not. Of course not.
Obama, they wouldn't have done that for Bush. They would not have done that for Reagan. They
Yeah.
would not have been done for any of them, not just Obama.
No. No. They just steady.
The
This
black,
guy is a sex trafficker. He's a child predator. Allegedly, I guess, but this is the most disgusting human on the goddamn planet, and he's just taking America and doing whatever the fuck he want to do, and there's not enough pushback on this guy.
this pushback, but it's how far the pushback. There's a lot of pushback, but it's what what is the pushback successful with. That's why I know, Tyrone, you say every week you don't see nobody saying that, you don't see nobody pushback. There's a lot of pushback.
Well, I judge it.
Thing is,
I judge it because of actions.
on the success.
I judge it. If they
Success.
stop him, then I say that's pushback. But if they just complaining, then that's all that is just, they just rhetoric,
They've been able to stop him with a good bit of things, but just not enough. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, because he's
But
tearing
when
this
you
country.
own,
He's tearing this country
when
up.
you're
He breaking laws. He's making money hand over fist. I seen this little skit from Rachel Maddow about these companies that he's invested in, like Nvidia, Intel. He will go and he will buy stock in the company, and then he'll go promote it
Yep.
so he can make money
promote
on
the
the damn
business
stock.
and make money.
Yeah, that's
But when the DOJ is in your pocket, and the top bench is in your pocket, and the House and the Senate is in your pocket, you can do a lot of things.
And don't forget the other week we come on here where he had all them countries together, and he made up this fucking global alliance with these countries, and he told us that whatever the fuck he made up, he told that they were gonna get this large amount of money from America to invest in his fucking goddamn whatever the hell that was. Who's this unknown
Yeah,
caller?
that's another plus fund he got.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
What's up, Jay? Yeah, I forgot the name. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna find out what that was. We talked about it here. What's up, Jay? You can go ahead, man.
Yeah, I say have confidence. There people are moving. It's just slow process. Also, I mean, some of the stuff you ain't gonna hear that's happening. It'll be taking place, if there is pushback. I see that like she said earlier, that it's not there to the point where they like this is enough, but it's getting there. It's a process, And when you said they corrupted, he's doing all this, but I was seeing they was talking about. They said they could make all that illegal, but the House or whatever, they're not gonna approve that. The people, senators, or these Congress people, they're not gonna put that in law that could punish them and punish him.
They're not gonna improve what again? I didn't hear you.
No, I'm saying that like some of the things that they're taking the money from different companies, enriching themselves.
Yeah.
They could make that illegal.
Oh yeah.
They could make that and put that in law. But the Republicans, they're not doing that. Another thing is because a lot of them, they're getting money from different companies, and they don't want to be regulated with that. So, we could take, money, because, again, we know that a lot of, the majority of those companies that are giving money to these congressmen, are getting, it's you help me, I help you. And so, obviously, that corrupts these damn politicians because these companies want certain things done to their favor, and then the average citizen is not getting what they want, and so they're gonna be compromised. And so for them trying to put this law in place, they said it. They said we could put those laws in place, but they're not gonna pass it. Said they don't want to be regulated, and some of these Democrats too, because they getting them damn checks, them corporate checks, and you see them. That's why they having their inner fights with the the AOCs and some of these people that they're getting money and all this shit. Sarge was talking about Elon Omar getting money. I don't know about all that, man. I'm telling you that a lot. There's an inner fight, and a lot of it is corruption, and it has to do with money. But
Well, Ilhan Omar is getting money. I'm saying that because all them motherfucking politicians up there is getting money from some goddamn body that is donating
but
to
how
them.
much money is given?
That's what I was getting ready to say. The same donors for Ilhan Omar does not equate to those fucking corrupt politicians from like Amazon and
Right.
all that. No, it ain't the same thing. It ain't the same thing.
And who they getting money from is another thing. It's like a lot of them is getting money from grassroots organizations, and that's why they say, "Oh, we're not going corporate." And I said it before. Look, there has to be kind of a middle. It has to be corporations out there that want the best for the people. They want to make their money, but they don't want to get over on the people. They don't want to poison them. They don't want to lie to them. They want to sell them a product or service, make money, make a decent profit, but not get over on the person, not selling them a bad product or service.
Well, you got more trust in these motherfuckers than I do. I think all of them corrupt, Jay.
No. Hold on. I know. I'm saying that what is that's needed more of, because you're right. I think that you have more corrupt companies and businesses out there that don't care about the average person.
Right.
They just care about their profit. But what I'm saying, I agree with that. I'm saying that we need more of those companies that are actually legitimate, and they want to make their money. They out there to make money, but they're honest, and that they're willing to help these politicians. Politicians, some of the Elon Omar, AOC, they need some corporate money, but they don't need that corrupt money, and of course they don't take that money. You know what I'm saying? But there has to be more investment in them. So they or like people like them, like-minded people, to be able to bring the AOCs and the Elon Omars from Middle America and all these places where a lot of these white Republicans are dominated. So I mean, I think that again, the money is a factor to it, and then the Democratic Party, again, what we're talking about inner issues, is that the ones that's controlling the money, they tell them, hey, listen, we need some money invested out here in this small town in North Carolina that's going to be is going to impact later on, and they don't. So Democratic Party has to fix itself, where they getting their money, and then how they using their money.
But they can't compete, man. They cannot compete. You can look at that Thomas. You can look at that Thomas Massey race, and see how much money was spent on that damn race, and you could
over $30 million.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And that money came from outside. It came from fucking them
from the state.
Them damn Jews. So they ain't no Jewish person gonna give no Democrat no type of money like that,
Another thing they was talking about the Democrats that and again, before, we definitely, know who's the corporates, who's the ones that's really, really putting out the poison, but. Within the Democratic Party, they just talked about how they kept some information on how they did the election. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was all that about, man? Was it they talking about the bad strategy or some stupid shit?
You talking about that report that they did after the DNC after analysis report or whatever that was just put out?
Right.
Yeah, I was watching Adam Mockler go over it a little bit. And the way they was reporting it is like they didn't really touch on any of the issues that the Democrat base was really concerned about. They just put together this report. I don't know. The Democrats don't seem like they together based off that report, man.
That's what I'm saying. They need to fix their shit, and I don't think like even that whole thing with Kamala. I think that they could have did much more better to get her. They could. Man,
Elon Musk bought that race. I'm gonna start saying that now. Kamala did excellent. Kamala got out the fucking vote. She had everybody in this country, well, damn near everybody in this country motivated about her fucking nomination, and she had the right people show up. But Elon Musk was paying people. They was throwing out fucking ballots. Trump cheated in this goddamn election, and that should have been in that goddamn after action goddamn DNC report about how the election was fucked with. Because I believe it was. And this is just my opinion. I
I
know a lot
do
of
too. But his girlfriend is hinting at it. Not his girlfriend, one of his baby
I
mamas.
seen that lady, and
Hinting.
I seen that lady,
You saw
and
that?
you know it kind of, I don't like her. 'Cause she was a right winger anyway, but it kind of confirms my thoughts, so.
And I thought, yeah, on that. But just like the group who does election integrity, they've been round the corner, round the edges of everything, saying there was a lot of irregularities, especially as it relates to the swing state vote. So yeah, he did this. And then like a lot of people say Congress needs to take Congress needs to take up how did Elon Musk know that the election was won early in the day. So yeah, he played a big role in whatever he did to I don't like conspiracy, but to steal the election. Yes, he did. He did that.
Yeah,
He helped him
I
do
mean,
that.
there's no way in the hell after he got impeached twice and all of that shit that was going on in his first administration that these people wanted that same shit back again. America's not that damn stupid, you know.
A lot of them are, but not everybody.
I think that, and I truly believe, I think that, the propaganda helped a lot of people stay home. I think, the people that were supposed to vote got caught up with all the propaganda. And he had just enough people to come out for him. I just think that, his way of corrupting the shit was whatever ways of putting out bad information, using those websites, manipulating Facebook, and all those people.
Yeah, that too.
You know
all
what
of
I'm
that.
saying? Because it's a convincing game. And then maybe who knows how many things got rigged that we don't know about.
Well, yeah. Your opinion.
They out now stole the election.
Yeah, your opinion based on it was fair. I don't think it was fair.
No, it was fair. I think he out now stole the election. He figured out a way, and they did that with them voting machines. I do. I always felt that.
Well, they kind of admitted it on stage. Elon Musk admitted it. Trump admitted it. What they were going to do. You remember Donald Trump told people that they weren't going to have to vote no damn more, or some bullshit he was talking about before the election.
He was telling we don't need it, but you can vote if you want to. He said we don't need to vote. We got this. Elon figured out the machine.
Yeah, he said some shit exactly like that.
Yeah, because Mr. McCorm got his whole video on it, and they put together a group after his girlfriend is sort of is not the one of his son's mother is out there running her mouth. They were saying, well, Elon figured out the machines. He knows how to do this, and Elon has basically said it out of his mouth too. So they figured out a way, and they did it. And I think the Biden administration, all of them know it. And
well, that's why I'm saying the Democrats is weak, because that should have been one of the things coming out of this election. I wouldn't have mind the confusion at the end of this election. I wouldn't have mind the fucking recounts. I wouldn't have mind none of that stuff, But the Democrats are so soft, like they don't want to fucking make a ripple. It just pisses me off that they don't fucking fight, man.
So it was done. And the problem is, are they going to investigate that and put him in federal prison for another life? No.
No.
I think they all know that the election was stolen, and I think they all know how.
And I'm going to tell you how it's going to come out. 10 years from now, somebody's going to write a damn book. They're going to have all these sources validated. They're going to have all these sources validated. They're going to have all the proof. They're going to have all that shit 10 years from now. That's when it's going to come out.
Yep. Just like the JFK assassination. There's been books written, and they got all the I's dotted, T's crossed, of what that was all about. So, it'll be the same thing with this, too.
Yep, and the thing is that the dude is corrupt. He is corrupt as all outdoors. He's stealing money, billions of dollars, and these people are just letting him take our money. And at the same time, fucking gas is high, groceries high. There's a fucking war going on. Military people dying and we don't have accountability. We have military equipment that was destroyed and we don't even fucking know about it. I don't understand what the hell going on in this goddamn country right now.
And I do believe the country's in a recession. They're just not saying it. Because when we were in I think back in, what was that? The last time we were in a recession, we had been in it a full year before it was announced. But because Trump is in charge of the numbers and all of that, we're in one right now. If something isn't done, we're liable to be headed to a depression. So we're already in a recession. They're just not saying it.
Well, that's because he's controlling the narrative. That's why he wanted to get rid of Jerome Powell. He wanted to get Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, so he can control all of the numbers. They're not releasing data.
All aspects.
They're not releasing data like the unemployment numbers. They're not releasing the data that we normally get. So people, they're not getting the information. This is a fucking goddamn what is that Kim Jong-il got over there? Communist or tyranny? We living up under this shit right now.
It is already happening. And the only way you can really get a better understanding, so like the unemployment numbers, there's other sources that is always, other than the government putting out the numbers, there's other sources and things that put the numbers out. So you have to pay attention to those. Like we're in a job recession right now. And but the government is, we don't have a government anymore.
No.
We don't have a government anymore. But they're not, the people that's just grifting and stealing, they're not going to put out the numbers. You have to get the numbers from other sources that has always put out the numbers to try to keep the government at least semi-honest or semi-on track. But we no longer have, we don't have a government. We don't have a government. Maybe some little local local areas and stuff like that. We don't have a government anymore. We just got fraud and theft and grift and lies.
Everybody in fucking Washington. Everybody in Washington is corrupt. Everybody. I don't give a shit if you got good intentions. I don't give if you got good intentions and you just sitting there quiet. Your ass corrupt too. And if the Democrats win, they really need to clean house. I mean, every fucking goddamn one of them people need to be exchanged out. All the roaches need to be exchanged out. Everybody in them fucking buildings need to go. Every one of them. And they need to fucking stack the Supreme Court. They need to do that shit.
Are they going to do it? I don't know. But we don't have no government. People talk about the government. We don't have no government. We don't have no Justice Department. We don't have none. We don't have any of that going on right now.
Yeah, cause they main focus.
Coasting along.
Their main focus is making life miserable for black people, and they can do that.
Not just for black people, for everybody.
No, I'm trying to tell you, their focus is black people, right? That's what's on the headline. DEI. Black people, getting rid of them. But at the same time, while they doing that, they hurting other people. But their main focus is black people. As long as black people get hurt, these other people that's losing their Medicare, that's losing their insurance, that's just collateral damage. Because white people are getting hurt with them. White people is getting hurt with what they're doing, what they're focused on us. Because as soon as they lose Medicare, there's a whole bunch of people on black people on Medicare. Those people gonna either not be able to get help or just pass away, But
the thing is, we're a small part of the population. They are pretending to focus on us.
Yeah.
They are pretending, they're doing things.
But that's what I'm trying to say, that's the messaging. That's the messaging, black people.
They're feeding that to keep not all the whites, but the whites satisfied that you're coming after the black folks.
But at the same time, they getting hurt.
You stick your hand in their pocket, taking it away from them.
Yep.
Giving it to your all of these hedge funds, all of these corporations and rich and billionaires and stuff. The whole time, they're feeding that to them. Look at what we're doing to them. Look what we're doing to that. They don't care nothing about that. That's to feed the average poor ass or middle class upper crust white person to think that that's what you're doing. And they are doing it. They got to do some of it to make them think that it's working. But the whole time they snatching the food out of our mouth, they got somebody behind them taking. They got somebody with another hand behind them taking the money out of their pockets.
Yeah, that's that.
Out of their pockets and out of their back pocket. That's how that works.
That's that Lyndon.
Yeah.
That's that Lyndon Johnson. That's that Lyndon Johnson quote. And I can't stand him, but he was right about that. He said you can convince the lowest white. He said you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man. He won't notice you picking him pocket. And then he said you can give him give him somebody to look down on, and hell, he'll empty his pockets for you. So that's exactly the way they treat white people in this country.
And it works every time. They tell them that poor little immigrant man over there from Guatemala, he's the reason you can't pay for your child's college.
Yep.
Just that much, and they get to holler, you get in behind heavy, okay? We will. And the whole time they done took half the money out of your wallet while you jumping and pointing the thing at them. That's how it works.
Yeah, and then you got people just like Sarge was coming on here last week talking about he okay in this economy. He didn't invest it. He's lying. He just putting up some bullshit to cover up because they looking down on black people. He's a black man, but he's taking up on these white supremacist attitudes and mindsets and saying everything is okay. Everything is okay. And it's not. It's not. Gas is fucking $5. How the hell is that okay?
And inflation, the price on food, and not just gas, everything. You have to pay attention for those who shop. You should know everything is going up, and they stealing. Say, but look what we doing to the black folks over here. Look what we doing to the Latinos. Look at what we doing to these people over here. Look at who we blocking. Okay, reach over in her pocketbook while she's listening to you. Take her wallet. That's what's happening.
Yep.
This is happening.
And then what?
That's the same old game plan, and it works. It keeps working. And you would think at some point, that the average stupid white person, a lot of them get it. A lot of them do, but not enough of them get it.
Yeah, and you can see it being played out. Whenever they gutted the Voting Rights Act, and Trump was taking billions of fucking dollars. I mean, it's just everybody was talking about the Voting Rights Act while he was taking money. Jesus Christ!
I was only stealing. Yeah, look at what we're doing. We're gonna marginalize them. Look at what we're doing. Oh my God! I don't know how we're gonna pay for Susie's dorm room. I don't know how we're gonna do this. Oh my God! I don't know what. You haven't put two and two together. It's a sleight of hand.
Mm-hmm.
While we're doing that over there, we're robbing you blind. That's what's going on.
Yeah, that motherfucker bulldozed the White House. He bulldozed the fucking White House. And these motherfuckers ain't said shit. He bulldozed the White House. I can't even get over that.
Iran, and right now, like instead of Hamas, they have taken that. They got it down. We have lost this. We lost the war, and the people and the war.
Oh yeah, we been lost that war. We lost that war. Yeah,
that.
Yeah, that's a done deal. It's just that they trying to figure out a message for the American dumbass people to make Donald Trump look good. That's all they trying to do. Because Iran ain't giving up that damn Strait of Hormuz, and Iran, they won.
And they're gonna get them a nuclear.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna get nuclear weapons too. They better. Look what happened.
Yeah.
They better. And this whole slush fund. This was done. Nazi Hitler did this too. Let me see, because a lot of people were Nazi Germany.
Oh, you talking about Hitler whenever he was paying his brown coats and stuff?
Some of his stuff, yeah, that's where they got that idea. If they get the money, great, but it's more so about these taxes then. So they employ various secret accounts and mandatory corporate contributions to fund the regime bribe leadership is secure loyalty key mechanism. So they did the same thing. They did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they just take it now, and it's super crazy. Hill and them studied uh, Reconstruction. Times they discovered he studied. Well, that's what has been written about him. That he studied American history.
Yeah, this
The
racism
whole
in
era
America
of
is where he gets his
Jim
idea
Crow,
from.
Reconstruction, and how they were doing it. He studied that. The fools are studying them. So history repeats itself, and you saw their downfall. Nothing is new. It's just nothing new. It's just different brown paper bag. Nothing is new. We saw their fall. So as one go, they go up, they go down. They go up, they go down. The same thing will happen with this too. But they're giving it all they got right now. And
Well, and that's the smartest
fine.
thing. That's the smartest thing they doing. To be honest with you, is just throw everything at the wall, and whatever sticks.
Throw everything at the table.
That's what they're doing.
They're trying to do it faster because they know this type of stuff can't continue, but too long before it all falls apart. Before it all falls apart, it cannot continue. So that's what this is. It's just history repeating itself. That's all history does, is repeat itself. And people haven't learned yet. They don't want you to learn. You go back to the Victorian era in England, same type of thing. They had the bulk of the people suppressed, and the people on the top had this. Then they had to have a revolution, and different things changed. It's just a revolving cycle. It keeps going around over and over because people forget.
A lot of this is that they're being manipulated psychologically.
Yeah, that's how they did. That's how they've always done it.
And you know, and humans are very vulnerable to that type of manipulation. To be honest with you, and I mean, people hear me say something like that, and they're like, "Oh, you don't know what the hell you talking about." All you gotta do is just look at what the hell is happening. None of this stuff makes sense. None of it makes sense.
And none of it is new. This is not new. This is old, recycled effery, and it keeps over and over again with different eras. And we happen to be going through it right now on steroids. But there's been other eras where it's been on steroids. The people come out, they come out as champions, and then somebody started again. Then they go, ooh, look at that brown man over there. He got 3 grains of rice. That's how come he got 3 grains of rice. That's how come you ain't got but 4 loaves of bread when you should have 6. And then it starts over again. Starts over again. And both sides have to play their role. One side, Democrats throw you bone. The other side don't intend to give you nothing. They just want to tax the hell out of you. So you can't afford to do anything for your family. And for those who seem to be coasting, their mind is not on it until it hits them. And then they look up, it's just a never-ending cycle of the same stuff over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I've always despised Donald Trump as a child. And I used to see him on television. I never would have thought he would have been that cretin, would have been that stupid, dumb, damn near illiterate cretin would be doing this when we all get to be a certain age, that it would be him. And I think there was maybe something in the back of my mind why I despised him as a child. Didn't really know why. I used to talk about all those junk bonds and different things that he was in, more casinos and stuff. And I never liked him because I thought he was trash. And the reason I thought he was trash when I was little is because I heard all them stories when I was young. I used to hear all those stories about what went on with his first wife and them old Marla Maples and hookers and hoes and he cheating on this. It was just one thing after another. And I thought he was a bad character. And you talk about a child. And here I am, a grown-ass, rusty-ass woman. And he is affecting us like this. You never could have paid me money to think that this is that the likes of this will be going on right now. Like people, and like I've had people say, "Oh, you had Trump derangement syndrome." I didn't have no Trump derangement syndrome. I just knew he was a bad character. He was a degenerate, and I never liked him.
Yeah, he's fucking
Never,
disgusting. He's
ever.
fucking disgusting. That is the worst human being walking around this damn planet. You can't get no
Yes,
worse than
and I
Donald
never
Trump.
would have. I never would have thought when the rumblings started coming out about this Jeffrey Epstein. I never would have thought that he was one of them too. He was one of them kind of people too. But you know, when you're a disgusting, degenerate, low-life cretin, you do those things too.
Yeah, and he's using his
do
money.
those
He's
things
using his
too.
money. He's using his influence to actually promote this fucking substandard way of being a goddamn human, supporting pedophiles. Just all these people up there support fucking child predators. That's who the Republican Party
Yeah.
is.
And I honestly believe he is one too. He was doing the same things too to children.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, without a
He's a-
doubt. I mean that
he's
court
a
document that
creepy-
I got shows that what Donald Trump did to that little girl. I mean, and that's not the only time
And
he did it.
yeah, I believe all of that. And the thing is, you people used to say that that's a crime. That when you find out that people who mess with little children and do things to children, that's one thing that everybody can agree upon. Hell, they even managed to in 2026 make people to ignore that, to look the other way.
Oh yeah,
I said that right. You talk about it, you know that's something. You
That's
got to
crazy.
say, well, damn, they did that. They did that. They had people to look the other way, because even a hint of something like that as it relates to children, the average person will go, no, gotta go. We can't have. And you got people making excuses for them. People
yeah. All
who
those
talk on
women,
the phone.
all those women, tens of women. I don't know, 20, 30, 40. I don't know. All those women that first came out whenever he came in talking about he abused them, the E. Jean Carroll thing, the Stormy Daniels thing. Him raping his wife, that was all out there. Grabbing him people by the private parts. All of that disgusting stuff was already out there. You know what I mean? And they
But
still.
then when they start hitting around about underage girls, and then the stuff started coming out that his involvement having sex with underage girls, I was just like, okay, that's good. People are gonna draw a line right there. No, they didn't.
Well, you just think about it.
No,
Why
they
would that
didn't.
grown ass man want to run teenage beauty pageants? That doesn't even make
Exactly.
sense. That doesn't make sense.
Unless that's what you into. And the people had to turn their back and say, he's the greatest of all white people. He's the greatest president. He has convinced you that you are better than other groups of people, and you're willing to look the other way. Somebody's grandmother, somebody's mother. I'm talking about the women now. Somebody's auntie. And you were willing, because they made y'all think that because your skin is white, you're willing to look the other way, and you were somebody's mother.
Mm-hmm.
You were somebody, and I'm not going to speak for men, because I know men and women are different, but you were somebody's mother. These women, the daughters of Confederacy, and the daughters of this, and the moms for this, you all are somebody's mom, somebody's grandmother. You're willing to look the way, but there are hints of impropriety of underage girls, and you are willing. And that's why I was like, we are not just cooks, we are smoked. Where they were willing to look the other way on that.
Well, that's what I've been saying.
I don't believe.
White people are disgusting. They just are. I don't know what else to say about that.
So we just sitting up here complaining right now, but I don't know. Like I was talking to my mom, especially her, some other people, and we was like, well, I hope we all want things to get fixed and things, but should it, though?
You said should it?
Should it get fixed? Yeah, should it? Should this country be saved? Should it be? Or should it fall?
Yeah, it should. I think it should fall.
because you had to ask yourself these questions because the people have, not all the people, and not even the majority of the people, but too many people have turned their heads to look the other way when it came out that there was impropriety against young underage
Yeah.
children. And people were willing to look away. That is just how deep your need is to feel superior. Should this thing remain? You have to ask that. And I know a lot of people they don't want to have that discussion. Should this country remain? Should this country keep up this false pretense of being the greatest? Should this be? Because all these other dynasties and everything, Rome and all that, they fell because some of the same shit. So should this remain? Should we root for it to remain? I don't know. It's a question I ask myself all the time.
Well, yeah, that was part of my whole thing about ripping up the Constitution that pissed everybody off because it needed to be done over. We can't go forward under what we got here. This is not working.
But when you said that, Tyrone, it has gotten even worse. You're talking about harming children.
Yeah, but they're using the Constitution to get away with it. That's why he became president, to manipulate the Constitution, so he can get away with whatever.
We live here. We all have people that we care about that want a life and want a chance at a future, and they are deserving as human beings, as law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. We all want that. But should the atrocities, should our wants and dreams outweigh the atrocities?
Well,
ask yourself that.
Ain't nothing going to change unless you put every fucking single white America on somebody's fucking sofa and a psychiatrist and get rid of whatever the fuck is in them. Because
whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, whatever that is, it ain't going to change. It's not going to change. Because the next one going to come up. The next one going to come up through the channels and take charge. Yep.
And start it all over again. And while you got them sitting on the sofa, you need to grab up some in our community. You grab some of them up around your neck and get through to them too.
Well, you know,
not with that.
I hate to say it, but the sad thing is, Elisa, is if you fix them because of the way we are, we're going to copy them. So if we fix their behavior, you know, the one that was copying them is going to continue to copy them. So, I mean, if we fix them, we'll fix our problem.
You think so?
Yeah, because that's what the hell these black coons do. They copy white people. Whatever white people do, they copy them. So if you have white people getting the right mindset, then you're going to have black people getting in the right mindset too. It's sad, but that's a fact.
It's sad. But we talked about a lot of this within our community. Like the wars that's just going on between the men and the women. And we were saying years ago, Tyrone, that a lot of that was different groups playing, playing in our community and trying to, the gender wars, trying to push
they pit us against each other. That single mama stuff, single family home, and all that stuff, that come from white supremacy talking points.
To keep up the fighting. And somehow or another, we were soul searchers. I just don't think any of that's going to happen. We're a lot of soul searching and different things like that. You got to get rid of colorism. You got to get rid of the gender wars.
I think it was the Monahan report where that stuff kind of originated from.
And you have different groups being paid to keep this going. The men against the women and the this and that, misogyny, all of the things that's going on, all of the agonies and the phobias and the things like that, because it looks like you're moving on the right path. But there's some groups take advantage of it and It's not just us that act foolish. It's LGBTQ plus IA community. They take advantage of stuff. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and that's what pisses me off about black people. They'll spend more time talking about people in our community than talking about this damn government that's screwing them over. They won't educate
And
you
you
about
worry
that.
about with gay people, you worry about with the LGBTQ community, you worry about a small percentage of people who are trans, what they doing.
Yeah,
Are
people, gay
you part of
gay people are gonna be gay. There ain't no way you're gonna change
Yeah.
that. You're not gonna change that.
And you ain't gonna change that. You're not gonna change that. Some people who are trans, you're not gonna change that. You're not, and stop trying to worry about dictating that. Just concern yourself with what you're doing in your clothes and what you're doing in your bedroom. But too many people are too busy looking over there what they're doing.
Yeah, it keeps
That's
us
not your
occupied.
community.
It keeps people occupied talking
yeah.
about nonsense.
And the agenda, and their community don't help it either. Because I saw a march that something was going on. It was one of their a couple of years back. I think it was Gay Pride Week, and they was like, "We're coming and burn your children." It's just they were just trying to be funny and antagonize. You remember that?
I don't
When that
remember,
was
but
going on, they were having a march.
that don't
I
help
don't know
a
if it
thing.
was San Francisco, somewhere or another in California. It was like, and look at where we are now.
Yeah,
Look at what the people in your community are going
that does not help nothing. Sure
that
don't.
just makes matters worse.
And and to be honest with you, I ain't bashing no gay people, but I always have problems with their parades. I really do have problems with their
I don't
parades.
care about their parades. You don't just if it's something that you're not into, don't go.
Why did I have problems? Because they be out there naked, showing these big old balloon penises and all of that shit.
Don't look at it. Just don't look at it.
So what, you want them to have an indoor parade?
No, but listen. Okay, let's break this down. Historically, a parade is clowns. You got your floats, balloons, and all this. Nothing provocative, right? So why does this group of people have to have a naked ass parade? I don't understand that. Why do you have to take your clothes off and walk down the street? I don't understand that. I don't get it.
No, all of them do that. They have some provocateurs that does things.
But when you go to a parade, you're not supposed to be watching nobody naked walking down the damn street,
Well,
I mean, that's not the whole parade, though.
You haven't seen the Mermaid Parade in Brooklyn during the 4th of July?
What about it?
So they have. It's just a crazy parade, but they got a lot of parades around the world. That are and had a few parades around the world that was way more crazier.
But no, I won't go to one. The only way I know about what they do is I see fucking pictures on the internet. This is the gay parade.
Right.
I'm like, okay,
don't go.
Nah, don't
go.
Don't
Look at it.
I won't.
And then if you got children, make sure you know what's going on in your neighborhood, or around it. So you don't mistakenly find yourself in that type of atmosphere, and
But why has everything got to be sexually explicit?
Because America and the world wants is sexually obsessed. This country is and other countries.
No, you missing it. Gay parades are sexually explicit. I don't see any other parades.
No, they can be. They can be, but I would say
there's other parades like that too.
Huh?
There's other parades when people, even on the cultural festival.
Well, no, let's look at the Mardi Gras, right? The Mardi Gras, you got women down there in scantily dressed, and they wearing beads or flowers, and they got on that is not as explicit as a gay parade.
Wait, hold on. If you gotta earn those beads, tell them how you gotta earn those beads, Tyrone. Come on now.
I guess they got to pull their shirt up and show their boobs.
Right. And so that's just there. That's in
But
New Orleans.
that's a woman flashing somebody, right?
But
For
that's
2 or
because
3.
you approve of that.
But no, wait a minute, hold on. That's a woman flashing somebody for 2 or 3 seconds. The gay parade got a big old butt balloon with penises sticking out of it and stuff like that. That is just too much.
It's crazy.
Some of them do, but some of them are family oriented. Some of them are family oriented. They bring their children and stuff like that.
Well, they can have their parade. I'm just saying I would never go to one. I don't want to see that stuff.
Have you see how Carnival is in the different islands and from Brazil to Trinidad to Jamaica?
Yeah, but they don't be as bad as gay parades, man. I've seen those parades.
No, wait. Have you seen the ones they do in Brazil?
Yeah, like Rio, right?
Man, they be having sex in those parades, man.
Oh well, I ain't seen that. I haven't seen that. That is disgusting.
It get crazy. You gotta. It get crazy, bro. On the
well,
side
if they do that, then I won't go to those parades either.
Well, you're not. I mean, unless you in Brazil, you won't. Or see it on. But look, I mean, if you see videos of just in general, like you just seeing the parade to see the parade, and in between time and stuff, and some of them floats. Yeah, they got a lot of stuff going on there, bro. You know what I'm saying? And they're exposing a lot too. In some of them places, they like pretty much.
Well, I just think the gay community need to tone that down a little bit. That's just my opinion. I ain't got nothing wrong. There ain't nothing wrong with gay people. It's just that I don't like to see that stuff.
No, I mean, for me either. I wouldn't want to see stuff like that. But I know that there's. The people, they gotta get permits, right? And to do those parades, and there's certain requirements for you to get the permit, and then there's also rules and regulations that the do's and don'ts. That's something that has to be checked by the local community and people getting involved to make sure that they,
I got you. But see, my stance is still, society shouldn't reject those people because of, who they prefer. That's just wrong for society to reject them.
Don't reject them. But if you don't like if you saying, like you respect them having their parade, and you just saying, I just don't want to, people revealing themselves.
You don't care for the he doesn't care for the. Yeah, the raunchiness.
Right. And so you have to address those issues. And again, they issue permits through the city. They can't do no damn parade without the city giving them.
Well, we can have a conversation about decorum without me excommunicating them from society. I mean, we can even. It's the same thing talking about black people. We can have a conversation about twerking without me excommunicating black people or whatever. I just use that as an example.
And put some clothes
the
on.
whole world is twerking now. Shit, they can't blame black people for twerking. I mean, shit. Who forced them
we got a lot
outside?
To clean up some of that raunchiness. I'm not a pearl clutcher, but I agree with you. Clean up. I don't care to see, because when they had the big celebration in Texas, where they had whatever day it is, I forget it, was it Houston? I'm not sure where it is. Mm-hmm. And I saw the videos from the big thing that they have where it's like everybody came dressed like cowboys. Ever since Beyonce and them started, with the cowboy Carter and this stuff.
Now. Here we go, right?
And you saw some of the pictures some of the pictures, and I'm just going to say it, of the black women that was there, and the clothes and some of the raunchiness, and people had to cover up their children's eyes. Go put some clothes, on your ass.
Yeah, that's why they closed.
I see some females
put some clothes on.
Fight.
That's why they changed Bike Week. That's why they changed Black Bike Week down here, because years ago they used to wear thongs and all that kind of stuff, and they had to change.
And just looking at hot raunchy nice.
Yeah.
Put some clothes on. Especially things that's supposed to be family oriented.
See, that's the same thing I'm saying. Like what you saying about Texas and Bike Week down here. I don't want to see that type of stuff. I'm just saying the same thing about the gay parade. That's too much.
I agree with you on that.
I think that conversation, should be had. And I'll say this: there's room for everything, right? So I'll say, listen, they gotta pick a location where there's not gonna be no children. So if it's secluded, it might be a park. that they're renting that again it's not viewable by the public outside. Something that suits them, that makes them happy, but it doesn't interfere with people that don't want to see that. And the same thing with you know, like the whole thing with outside of that. You know, if you're gonna be dressing a certain way where again it's not appropriate for the kids to see, then they need to have that in certain settings. Again, it could be in outside settings, but maybe that it's not where children are gonna be at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And those conversations should be had again because I think that you know what, if we have the freedom to express ourselves, you know, whatever, and you know, as long as that it doesn't offend you or you get upset, and they make it where it's in a place where those people that are going to see is like there's fair warning, there's information there. So listen, you come into this place, you're going to see this, and people know that that's what they're going there for. And for those that don't know, they will be informed before they even enter that area. And that's the type of shit I
Yeah.
think that they should have. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
I agree. I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah, I don't
And you
dislike the
should
gays.
know if you go. If you know you got stuff with children and stuff. People talk about children. This country don't give a damn about the children, but still, place things like activities and things with family. That's going to be family.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, put some jeans on over your above you around your whole behind. Cover yourself up, out there. I mean, if your wig is on crooked, your makeup or whatever, you looking a hot mess, so be it. But put some clothes to cover your whole cheek, your whole cheeks. Put some clothes on. You don't have to be out here looking like you on the stroll and you at the Texas, whatever that big thing they had down there. I think I don't know if it's in Houston or Dallas or wherever it is, Fort Worth or wherever that was at. Put some clothes on. And I was embarrassed looking at the videos and how some of those black women were dressed. Y'all know that has always been, and they said they're gonna have a dress code starting next year. And then some of the people got to fighting, of course.
Yeah.
So we gotta call that stuff out. Put some clothes on, cover up them butt cheeks. I don't care how your hair, your wig, whatever you're doing, however that looks.
Well,
Put some clothes on, big.
I mean, and again, I would say people are free to do what they want to do, but yes,
Yeah,
if
you
you're
are.
gonna go out in public, but also, what will support that information, which I agree with you. Like, look, you know what? Some people, if you're adult, you want to see that shit. Again, but we're when you're walking out in public, if you want to have consideration, again, I know some people be like, I don't give a fuck, I wear what I want to wear. Right, you're free to do that, but just think about it. Have consideration. Say you want your kids that. Some people are hood that they don't give a fuck. All right, cool, but
They just don't. They don't.
Guess what? The places that where these settings or type of events are happening, they need to regulate that too. In addition, so when you
They do.
you're walking in the street, but once they know, it's like, damn, you're going into the mall is not going to let you in there. Maybe they start dressing a little bit different, where they're not allowed to dress a certain way. Just again, where you're dressing where you're revealing a little too much. That's all.
Frodo said it's the Houston Rodeo. That's what it was called, I believe.
Yeah, that's what it was. The Houston, Texas. Yeah, the Houston Rodeo. Yeah, it was a hot ass mess.
Yeah.
And I'm always champion and support, but some of the black women that was there, they looked a hot mess. And I saw those videos. Girl, you look a hot, you look stank. You stink, you look stinking out here.
Damn.
Put your wig on, do your thing, but some of them look stink. And they were walking around, and little children out there, and all their butt cheeks and stuff out, they just looked a mess walking out there. And I'm not saying that I'm not a pearl clutcher. I'm not. I for people to go out, be yourself, do your thing, look good. I mean, not look good, but look how you want to look. To me, some of them just look like a hot, stinking mess.
Damn.
But clean, I'll just be honest. And y'all know I stand up for the sisters. But when they wrong, they wrong.
No, you can
When
call
they
them out. Ain't nothing
wrong,
wrong with calling them out. You know.
when they wrong, they wrong. Y'all was looking a hot mess. And then let me get on the men a little bit. And then they out there fighting and crying.
Oh
The women
shit.
was fighting too.
Oh
Then the
shit.
fighting. I mean, come on now. But some people don't care. It's just I'll do what I want. I'm gonna look at. I don't care. But that's not my generation. It's Gen Z.
Yeah, I guess I
I
googled
mean,
it. I put it on YouTube and it looked like it made a lot of news.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, it was a hot, stinky, funky looking mess. And they said they having a. I'm just gonna be honest. I mean, we all black. We black here. It was a hot, funky looking mess.
Again,
And you ain't got no clothes
what
on.
was
People.
that? Was that open or open air type of event or what?
It was open air type of event. From my understanding, it's something really, really big they have every year. And not a lot of I think black people were always into it, but ever since it's become like the Western look and cowboy collar,
Right.
more black people got involved. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And some of them looked a hot mess, and they were starting fights. So, like they said, next year they're doing a dress code, and I'm happy to see that.
That's what they need.
It was-
Well, that's what
I'm saying.
yeah, that was a news story said that they're gonna be a dress code. I just seen that.
That's what I'm talking about. So these places need to address that. Again, so if you're going to be out in the street, I mean, at the end of the day, public, there's a certain amount that you can control. But, all right, if you want to be going into settings where, again, there's going to be people coming with their families, kids, they don't want to see that. And they should not allow it, if it's too revealing. That's all.
It's too revealing, and you don't want to see that. All your hips and lips and cheeks and everything hanging out. Oh, sister, you do better than that. Well, who are you? And then I be called some type of pearl clutching bitch and all kind of stuff because that's how I feel. But I want you to. There's places you can go. They ain't had nothing after hours where y'all can let it all hang out. Shake your money maker.
Yeah.
Let it all hang out. I don't care if you let it all hang out.
Yeah.
But when you got Miss Jenkins and her grandchildren. When you got Miss Jenkins is there with her grandkids and they over there buying fun, okay. Yeah. I don't want them seeing your your butt cheeks and you letting it all hang out and people smoking weed and stuff. Y'all can do better. You can do better for a half hour that day. Just for a half hour. And there must be events, after hour events where you can come butt naked if you want to, if that's allowed.
Right. There's a place for everything, right?
There's a place for everything. Because I'm not a pearl clutcher. I don't mind the young people doing. I was young. We did our things, but not like that. But each generation, it becomes.
Wait a minute. Hold on, because they was Freaknik. I don't know if you went to Freaknik or not, but they were.
Shit.
No, I ain't go Freaknik.
ATL, baby, ATL.
They were
Well, you know what? Listen, this is what I'm gonna say because I'm gonna be real. Like for the time I was, teenager and even younger than that. I mean, it was out there, but what it wasn't so much of it. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of it out there, but I'm saying it wasn't out there spread out the way it is. So there was areas that you seen that in school and even in the streets. There were certain areas you see it more of, right? But it's just like you seen there was a lot of prostitutes you see in the street. You wouldn't see them in certain areas. You will see them in certain areas. So there was periods and times growing up where I seen it was more than usual, and then there was periods that there wasn't stuff happening or as much of it for whatever reasons, whether they locked people up or it was just things were changing. But it was out there. There was, we had all the raunchy, wild shit. It's just that
it's out there.
I think the internet has exacerbated it.
Oh, without a
again,
doubt.
Not only that, it's more people. There's more humans here following the shit versus before people. It would be like 5. Now it's 50.
Social media is making it bigger than what it used to be.
Really has it really hyped. But no, Tyrone, I never went to Freaknik. By the time I got old enough to go to Freaknik, they wasn't having it anymore.
Who's this caller line I just opened?
Yeah, hey guys. I just gotta ask Jay a question. Jay, are you saying that them cheeks wasn't as spread out in the past as they are now?
No, they were spread out. No, I didn't mean that. I'm saying spread out. You know what I meant. You didn't see. I would say you would have to be in certain areas. You see more of it versus other places.
Yeah,
so
I know.
It's like when you go to the airport right now. If you go to the airport, right, you be shocked what you see in the airport. Like this is airport shit.
Yeah.
You like
the airport.
Shit.
Yeah.
Like you at the airport and. Before it wasn't like that in the 90s and like that. Maybe you see one of those ladies dressed up,
and then in 2010 and stuff.
You know the deal.
People weren't doing that in the 90s and in the 2010s.
That's right.
And Freaknik, that was the place for it. Your mother and father and Miss Jenkins was supposed to be out there in them streets.
Right.
No, that's different.
But you have Reverend Barber somewhere in the mix because there's a bunch of there's a bunch of right now that's gonna be in them damn documentary that just came out recently. I think it was. There's a whole documentary about Freaknik. But anyway, that's another story.
I said I wasn't gonna watch that.
But think about this though. You see, there was an era of Freaknik, right, where it was wild. They had this event, but then it stopped. So something happened.
Yeah, they got rid of it.
Right. So there was times in through our generations, I say in decades, where there was like a up and down surge. There was it's crazy now, and then they slowed it down. They cleaned up shop, or they became more conservative.
Yeah, after Freaknik, they started coming down here to the beach for Black Bike Week, and then they started going to Virginia. Daytona. Daytona.
South Beach, Miami.
Yeah.
Too.
Them kind of places, but no. When Freaknik was going on, I wasn't old enough to go to Freaknik. By the time I got old enough, they wasn't having it there. People was going out of Virginia and places like that. But Miss Jenkins wasn't over at the booth trying to get funnel cake for her grandkids.
Right.
When the people was out at Freaknik. And you know that, Tyrone. What are you talking about? She wasn't out there.
They were getting wild, though.
What did he say, Pastor?
Miss Jenkins
Pastor,
wasn't Freaknik. Miss Jenkins wasn't Freaknik. She's a reform. Now, look, when you go to church, all them ladies with the church hats, you don't think some of them was hoes back in the day? You're wrong. You know,
the ones with the church hats now. The ones with the church. The one with the church hats now. But I'm talking about what was Freaknik going on in the 80s? So no, the Mrs. Jenkins. The Mrs. Jenkins of that time wasn't there.
Different.
The Mrs. Jenkins of this time, the Mrs. Jenkins of our time now, they were at Freaknik.
Well, Mrs. Jenkins' daughter was there though.
Yeah,
Miss Jenkins was at the Blues Club when they was playing ZZ Hill and Bobby Blue Bland. Up in
they did. They did have the little juke shacks and
the juke joint.
Yeah, the juke joint. They used to have the juke joints and all that stuff. Yeah, so it goes back further and further. Yeah.
Oh shit.
I don't know if you ever been. Yeah, I don't know if you ever been to a juke joint, Alicia, but I'd have been to more than one juke joint in Mississippi.
Oh yeah, they used to have them all over.
Never been to one.
They used to have them all over down here, back in the woods. Back in the woods. I mean, it was all over down here. Sure
Yeah, they
did.
used to. If you want to look up a bit of history, there used to be a blues club called the Subway in Jackson, Mississippi, that was underneath the only black hotel they had in town. It was condemned, but the joint was still active. And must have been 82, 83, and a friend of mine took me there. He said, "You got to see this." And it was nothing but big booty grandmas up in that sweaty joint because they had no air conditioning, and they was up there bumping and grinding to some hardcore blues. I mean hardcore blues. So
I know that's
yeah,
right.
yeah. So I'm just saying,
I know that's right.
yeah. But beyond
I'm
all
good
that,
with that.
our resident,
I'm good with that.
yeah, our resident Buddhist leader here is reformed. I guess now Tyrone done reformed because there was a time when Tyrone was yeah, that's right. I'm calling him out. There was a time when our Buddhist leader here, was all about the Church of Buddhism.
I know.
Well, no, yeah, I used to go out when I was younger, but I started out talking about them gay parades. I guess that evolved, stuff like that evolved into what they doing on today, what they did in Houston, and I guess that stuff just evolved.
Yeah.
And it's okay not to want to see that. I think that, again, but for those that want to do it, hey, do your thing, be happy, in an area that doesn't violate the youth. Most importantly,
a time and a place. There's a place for it. My cousin owns a juke joint because when he got his pay in South Carolina, when he got his payout finally, because when he was in Vietnam and he got sprayed, but he was his group, I don't know what you call them, battalion or whatever it is, brigade or whatever, they were sprayed with that Agent Orange.
Yeah.
And so when he got his payout, took years.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like in the 80s, late 80s. And he finally got his payout from that because they had, it was different times they would do a payout, then another payout. And he got his money in like the late 80s. And he opened a juke joint. And I was a kid, so I had never been there. And all the people used to go. It was, from what they said, it was the place. It was the place to be. He's dead now. But
yeah, they have
so
fun.
very well.
Yeah, they have fun.
They have fun, and I don't begrudge that. Let black people get drunk, let your hair down, get wild, get nasty, get raunchy, do whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah, even in those places, even in those places, you didn't walk around butt naked. That wasn't a thing, with your butt out and all
you
that
have been
stuff.
to him, Tyrone, the juke joint.
Yeah.
You been to him?
Mm-hmm. It's just dancing.
And they were raunchy, right? But that's a time and a place. It's a time and a place for that. And I'm all for it. For people who want to get loose, I'm all for that. I'm not problem with that.
Yeah, but they didn't have no. They didn't have no butt cheeks out and none of that.
No, but not at the county fair. And I'll say it again. Miss Jenkins is over at the booth buying funnel cake for her grandkids.
Mm.
They don't need to see that. Because we saw something like that. We went to a fair. We were kids in D.C. And I remember they had all these different groups and stuff. I don't remember the groups. And my mom took us down. It was on it was downtown on the mall, Washington Mall. And it was a big thing because they was talking about it on television. And my mom took me and my brother. He's older. And so, and I remember it was, because they used to have the gay pride stuff used to be going on. And it was two men up against a tree. I mean, and they were going in on one another.
See, Jay, what you mean, hell no? Let them do it.
Let them do it themselves.
No, I couldn't have been no more than like maybe 6, 7. And I was looking, and my mom was like, come from over there. And I'm looking because I had never seen two men doing that. And that turned into a thing. And my father got upset because when I was trying to ask her if it was two men. And she was like, yeah, they're gay. That didn't explain that to me. And I was like, because gay, as a child, y'all know what gay would mean. They happy. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's what two men do when they get happy. And she knew I didn't get it. And she was just like, come on, this is stop being fresh. And, and it didn't got explained. I told my father about it. And I told him, I said, because they was happy and they was kissing and the other one had his tongue and I was just telling him all the stuff I was looking. And he jumped all down my mom's business. Where did you have them at? We was at a regular function for family oriented and everything. And I remember asking her, so like one of my fathers, I'm listening his friend make Snicker. My father said he had a friend named Snicker. And I say, so that's what that's what like Dad and Snicker do when they get. I just didn't understand it.
Well,
and
I
they
mean,
was trying to explain. I didn't understand. She was like, she knew I wasn't old enough to understand what gay was. I didn't.
That's all I'm saying right there. What your family did is that you don't want to expose your kids to certain things before they time.
Before they time.
Yeah.
And because they don't understand, and you trying to explain. And I just saw, and they had on real tight shorts. I'll never forget that they had on real tight shorts and T-shirts that looked too small. And, I mean, they were going in on one another and, tongue all out and just, and I was like, wow, look at, my mom said, well, they're gay. She said, they're gay. And I'm like, okay, that's what men do when they get happy. They do that. With one another. I was just so confused.
Well, yeah, I would feel uncomfortable even today watching two men do that. But it's their business, I wouldn't say nothing, I guess.
That's their business. I mean, they might as well have just had sex right up against that tree. And I wasn't the only kid standing there like, oh, wow, look at this. Y'all see this? You see this? And my mother trying to drag me away. I hadn't seen a man and a woman carry on together like that. And to see two men outside, and I remember they
start to do more work and have the kids got to grow up earlier than usual. So it almost forces you as a parent to have to explain.
To try to say something.
But it forces you in an awkward position of now, let's say the child is and he don't know about sex himself, and now you got to be explaining this shit. Which you just trying to let the child be a child and grow up,
right? Right.
But now you got to deal with this shit, and now they're gonna know shit that they probably should not know at that time.
And they're not gonna. The thing is, they're not gonna understand. Yes. I had an idea about I thought adults kiss and hug, but it was two men, obvious men, and what they were doing. What we saw they was doing. I ain't gonna get into this. And she just said, well, they're gay. And I was too young to understand what gay. I was like, oh, that's what two men do when they get happy. So, and then it was just told, well, you understand when you get older. That was the only thing that could be said. And that was the end of it. My father got upset, and she didn't do anything wrong, but that's just a time and a place. But this kids company don't care nothing about the kids. They didn't care about us then, because look at what they was doing at the fair, at the open air, at the fair. They didn't care that kids saw.
Well, I think gay people has been incorporated into the society. There's a lot of pushback, but I mean it's everywhere. I was watching The Boys the other night. They're gay on there. I watched the superhero movies. They gay people on there. It's gay superheroes. Every time I watch something on Netflix, there's a couple in there that's gay, and they just ingrained it in society now to where it should be pretty normalized.
But I think they cater into the audience that they know, as what she just said, has just been there and maybe been quiet about it. And yes, maybe again, internet has some influence in some of these people's lives and their experimentations. Maybe that's not what they are, but in reality,
I agree with that
people. But there's a lot of people that's been there, and they would have been gay with or without the internet, man.
Right. So I think it's
grown that way.
Yeah, I think it's incorporated into society now. That there ain't nothing nobody can do. Only thing that you hear now is hate towards that community. which is ridiculous because it's not going to change
I
anything.
think they're catering to that audience because they know that those people, they're also like a customer. And if you think about it, really, is these companies are just exploiting. If you could say, like, for us, it's like, yeah, they're promoting more gay shit. But you know what the reality is that they're tapping into that audience because all they want to do is make $1. So at the end of the day, what I think is just that they're tapping into that audience for their own financial gain. Now, yes, there's people that's involved in those industries that want to promote it and stuff like that, or want to empower. But it's really for the mighty dollar.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what they do because everything that they're promoting,
I
9
agree.
out of 10 is a product or service that they're trying to get people to buy. Think about it.
Right.
But then what about if they teach tolerance in school? I'm all for that.
Well, there ain't nothing wrong with
I
that.
don't think.
I mean,
but
just
I
don't
think
highlight it.
At
Don't,
that age.
I mean,
I would not have
don't highlight it
understood
when it comes to their behaviors. You can talk about partners, male to male, but you don't go no further than that.
Explain it in some kind of way. Cause my mom and them did best they could, and it still didn't stick. And maybe if they had it in school, I don't think I was old enough to understand that. Or I just wasn't old enough. I don't know. I'm not a parent. I'm not a child psych. I'm an educator. So I don't know how you would go about that.
Well, no, you just
no-
expose it. You just expose it to them, like in stories and stuff like that, instead of it being married.
Not like how it was exposed to me.
No, not like
but
that.
you exposed, like you said, like in the movie, whatever Toy Story, and I think somebody had two moms or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Expose it that way.
Yeah.
But not two men groping and taking their clothes off and just like up next to a tree at a concert. That ain't how you explain.
Yeah, I mean, and kids don't need to learn about sexual acts anyway. You know, not like that. Yeah.
But I think it's a bigger issue than that one thing is the gay shit, right? Or gay activity or whatever. But the bigger picture in general is also the sexual, how they sexualize everything, how they promote it to the kids. Like even the K-pop right now, we talk. Miss Lady talks about K-pop, right? If you see these artists, they're supposed to be like in their teens or maybe they're older, maybe they might be 17, 18, playing younger. Because that's what they do a lot too. They take a lot of older actors and musicians, right? And they look young, and then they push them to the young teenagers to make them their fan base. And let's go back to all these white groups that existed in the 90s up to now, where they made them, they sexualized it. They sexualized Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. These are white groups now, right? Or white artists. And what I'm saying in a broader general thing is that these kids, the fans of these kids, right, or the fans of these artists are kids, man. And then what are they seeing? Because they're older. The artists are older, right? So they put in all these. They're dressing them certain ways. The videos that they're that they're putting them on music videos are sexualized. They're talking about things that adults are doing. It always has to do with relationships or something that's going on with outside of the kids doing. Outside of what.
Well, I mean, whenever they do that, Jay, that's when really good parenting gonna have to come in. You're gonna have to teach your kids not to act that way. They can be entertained by that because it's in their face, but you're gonna have to step up as a parent and teach them how to be.
Well, it goes back to the parade thing, right? When we circled around 360 degrees to that.
Mm-hmm.
So it also has to do with the parents. Again, what I said in the beginning was that parents need to know what's going on in their neighborhood. They need to know if that parade is taking place and there's going to be that activity, and they can't do nothing about it because it's on their street block, and they got to go outside to the supermarket, to the park with their child. They need to be they have to be a step ahead of the thing. So it's like, oh well, listen, you're doing this in my community. I need to be at the city council meeting. I got to talk to the people to let them know. Look, we got children here. If you're gonna do the parade, but it has to be age appropriate. Where again, there's being aware. There has to be some type of a collective, and like you said, the parents. So once you step out that door, you're in the lion's mouth.
Yeah, you right.
How do you deal with it?
Your kids gonna get exposed to stuff. They definitely gonna
be
exposed.
Not even stepping out. They put that device that gets the internet access, a telephone, computer, or damn television. Those 3 devices, you don't gotta leave your house, and you see a lot of shit. Parents need to regulate that. They need to regulate.
It's still coming in.
Yes.
Because like the show on HBO, Euphoria, I don't watch it, but I've seen a lot of reviews about it. I don't think I think they graduated, but the past few first seasons, season 1, 2, whatever it is, they were in high school doing drugs, drug addicts. They had LGBTQ relationships, which is fine because young people have them. A lot of sexual. It's just, somebody was like, and I heard someone was fussing and saying that, well, all of the actresses and actors on there, they're all grown. They're young. They're in their 20s. But they're playing, the script is written about when they were in high school. And they should hire, I was like, no, they can't hire underage actresses and things to play those roles because of the content that's being written. It has to be young adults. Adults have to take those roles because of the content of the show. So it's a show about high school kids they're more involved in things than the average 40, 50-year-old. But it was a high school setting, and it's adults playing the roles, and it has to be adults playing the roles because there's laws against. You can't hire a 15-year-old to do that.
Well, I imagine I don't know, but I imagine that show got like a rating on it, don't it? Like a.
It do, yeah.
PG.
But it was about high school students.
Yeah.
Played by adult people because you can't hire teenagers. And like everybody's fussing about some new show or video game or whatever. And one of the characters from the comic book is a trans teenager or something like that. And they hired, I don't know, she's Filipino, she's one of the Asians, but she's grown, she's an adult, and she's going to be playing the 15-year-old in the show. But it has to hire an adult to play that role because of the content. It's sexually explicit, it's rated R, They have to hire an adult. They can't hire a 14, 15-year-old to play that role. They have to hire an adult. But it's written about a 15-year-old. So it's a catch-22 with it all, but it's content written about young people, but adults playing the role because that's the law. You have to hire adults to play those roles. So like Jay was saying, it comes into your home even if you don't go out.
Right.
So that's when the parenting has to come in. But everybody's not going to parent the way as we might think they should.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Everybody ain't gonna do the right thing. And then kids are sneaky too. So, I was one of those sneaky kids. I did it anyway. I got told to do something. I did the opposite.
We did it anyway too. We used to watch stuff, and we didn't do all kinds of things, but we used to watch all kinds of things and knew about all kinds of things. So, and like the kids, they have the parental lock and stuff on the computers. The kids are so smart; they know computers like their left hand.
Yeah.
They know how to override that. They override that and go see and do whatever it is. Because my goddaughter, when she was in elementary school, going to a Christian school, and they all had their own tablets.
Well, I guess at some point you just got to hope you.
And they took the tablets because the children found a way to take away the school. They had an app that they put on there. They found a way to override the app, and they was up on there looking at porn and things like that. The kids found a way to do it. So they just said, well, we'll supply the tablets and we'll know if somebody's been, messing with the software. So kids will find a way. Kids are always going to be kids. They're always going to get into things and do things and watch things and listen to things. Like people make the jokes back. You listen to your uncles and your family's old Richard Pryor albums when nobody's home. That type of thing. Kids are always going to do that. So that's where the parenting comes in.
Yeah, I hope you just hope your parents do kick in and they do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. And if they don't know what to do, like my mother said, well, you'll see you'll understand what it is when you get older. Now shut up asking about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if that is the best they can do, that's something. You know, it's something. That's why I don't know how y'all do it. You all who have children, I don't know how y'all do it. Because that would be me. Stop asking me all them questions. Stop it, and I would want to do better. But some people, they just do the best they can. But what they know how to do. So I don't even put all the blame on the parents. They do the best they do. Some could do better. But those who are doing the best that they can, or the best they know how to do, well, then I applaud them. They're doing something.
Yeah, it starts young. You start teaching about morals and values, doing the right thing, about lying, about being honest, and hopefully that stuff kick in whenever they get challenged.
Hopefully they kick in. And if you don't have anything else to say, stop being fresh. Watch your mouth and stop talking about it. Wait till you get old. Go someplace to sit down. Even if that's all you got.
Yeah.
It's something. It's something. So I don't put all the stuff on parents, because sometimes parents have to remember when they were small, when they were young, things they wanted to know, and they did it too. And they wanted to read the things and see the things that they knew they weren't supposed to. We did the same thing. Your kids are doing the same thing. And whoever got grandkids, they're going to want to do the same things when they get old enough too. So it is what it is. But like the guy said, we're going to be all right somehow, some way.
Oh yeah, the youth is a lot of people talk bad about the youth, but I mean they're really how can I say, they're evolving into this time and they're gonna be all right. A lot of people see all this negativity on social media, but I see a lot of positive youth too. I don't just watch all
I see some positivity too.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine going to school with social media. We talk about that all the time, because y'all imagine going to school, like junior high and high school, with social media? I couldn't imagine that. That is just like a nightmare to me, because something go on in your school, at least it stay at your school. And from where we live, it's more urban, it's more this and that. It might make its way to the high school, the next one up. Depends on how popular the person is. But it kind of stayed there. Nowadays, something go on, the whole world knows about it.
Yeah.
Depends on if it go viral.
See, I see a lot of black kids whenever they open their YouTube channel, they're very well spoken, they're articulate, they're able to tell a story, they're able to get their points across. And I mean, in this environment, in this timeline, I think that the youth is kind of fitting in where they belong at. Like you said, whenever we were younger, I couldn't imagine doing any of that stuff. But they just...
Me either. I couldn't imagine going to school with social media. I was like, thank God we didn't have social media when we were in school. Not that we were doing so much, but I couldn't imagine having social media when you were being in school. And they have all of that on them and still trying to go to school. And people said, would you go back to high school if somebody offered you $1 million? No. They said, okay, some people say, well, knowing what I know as an adult, no, not for $1 million. No, $1 million is nothing. How about $1 billion?
I'll take my youth back, though. I'm getting old. I find myself getting old real fast. I don't know what the hell wrong with me. Some people age fast. I think I'm aging fast. Jesus.
Right. Everybody's getting older. Hopefully, you live to be old.
Oh yeah, I'm
That's the
working on it.
goal.
I gotta get
That's the
this,
goal.
get some of this fat off me again. I done got fat again, so I'm losing weight now
You
again.
keep saying that.
I did. I shot up to 210 pounds. When I was taking pictures and lifting weights, I was down to 165. So
Hmm.
I done shot back up. Now I'm down to 180 now. So I'm working my way
Well,
back
that's
down.
good.
Yeah.
That's a lifelong struggle that people, some people who don't gain weight at all, that's always been a lifelong, me keeping my weight down and calorie counting and doing all the things. That's the only way. Because once you get sloppy,
Well, what I
then,
discovered
but
is
I,
that whenever you lose weight, your fat cells don't go nowhere. So it's like your body has a memory. So if you start eating wrong
yeah,
again, that way to get right back on you. So
it come
it's
right back on you.
yeah. So I don't mind the losing weight part. I don't mind, not eating a lot. I don't mind eating in a calorie deficit. It's a lifestyle, you know what I mean? So I done did it a couple of times.
There's a lifestyle that you got to get used to, drinking water,
Yeah,
and all.
exactly.
It's a lifestyle I've been living for a couple of decades now.
Yeah.
And you have your cheat weeks, and you cheat, eat whatever you want. Then you continue on with your lifestyle.
Well, I
It's a
ain't at
continuous.
that point
It's
yet.
a struggle.
I gotta
Oh,
go.
I've been doing this for decades.
When I get to about 175, that's when I can relax a little bit. So
But you if you're down to 180, that's good.
yeah.
That's
'Cause
good. That shows that you're determined.
I gained weight because I had a back surgery. I was down for a while.
You were immobile. You were immobile.
Well, yeah. So whenever you have a back surgery, you can't lift nothing. You can't hardly.
You can't do anything.
It's
Yeah.
your back. You need
And
your
it,
back. So
yeah, you need your back for everything. And if you're immobile and not being able to do too much, it creep up on you. It can
well, a
creep
lot of
up
it was
on
my fault. I would eat Subway. I would eat Philly cheesesteak. I would eat Chick-fil-A. I would just eat all the wrong stuff. And
you. A Subway will put a weight on anybody. So
well, that's a lot of carbs, at least.
unless, oh yeah, the carbs
So,
and the bread stuff. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I know Jared lost weight on Subway, but that ain't Jared. So
So you was eating cold cut subs.
yeah, I eat a turkey sub with lettuce, tomatoes, and onions. That's how I usually eat mine.
Yeah, that bread. Well, do you drink regular sodas, juice,
I
water?
would get wheat bread, and no, I don't drink regular soda. I've been drinking Sprite Zero.
Okay, that's
I
okay.
ain't had no soda in a long time. So I don't even,
I like the sparkle drinks with 0 calories or the sparkling seltzer
yeah.
with 0 calories. I love those. And Subway's a treat for me whenever I haven't had one in a long time.
Well, some people can
But
do it.
sometimes
Like I said, when I get down to 170, then maybe I'll do Subway. That's something that I trust. But right
it's
now,
Subway, yeah.
right now it's
Because that's
chicken.
my treat. It's like when we travel. But leave at Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A. But
Right now it's
Subway, like when I
right now
travel,
it's
I'll do Subway.
right now it's chicken breast, salmon, avocado, broccoli, stuff like that. That's what I'm eating now. So
But that's good. You eat tuna? Do tuna?
I do eat tuna, but I ain't had none in a while. So I might add that in there. I'm lazy. Some people say they can't eat the same thing every day, but I don't mind eating the same thing every day.
Depends on what it is. I probably can't eat it. Do you eat wraps? Like a lot of the places have wraps. Do you eat wraps?
No, I don't eat wraps.
I love wraps. Yeah, that's my go-to. Is a wrap.
What's killing me is I can't lift weights like I used to. Because if I can build muscle, then that'll help me burn fat. So I mainly wind up walking all the time. I'm walking all the time, and that seems to be working. But I know it'd be faster if I could lift like I want to lift.
Yeah. Well, at least you had your back surgery. How's that? You going hijack? How's that? How you going doing with that?
I'm being careful. I don't want to damage it, so it's healing up. I still feel it, but I don't want to mess it up. And then I just seen my back doctor the other day, and he told me to start doing more. So that's what I'm doing. I'm making it.
I see. You making it?
Oh
Well, I'm
yeah.
gonna go because that's tomorrow morning. I gotta get up early. Go to a college graduation, tomorrow.
All right.
And
All right.
I don't feel like it because I gotta get up extra early.
All right.
No,
Well, I
not
appreciate
mine.
it.
It's my cousin's daughter.
Oh, well, whoever gets graduated on the
Yeah, who's graduating? Yeah. And you know what's so good about her? She don't have student loans. Who graduates from college that don't have student loans? Her parents pay for it.
That's good.
So they pay for the whole. She don't have no school loans. Whenever it was the next semester, we got to send off this check for her.
Oh yeah,
she's
well I ain't hating
graduating
on her.
tomorrow.
That's good for her. So she getting a really good start.
And they're good to graduate with no student loans, but she's their only child. They could pay for that. And so that's tomorrow, and I got to get up extra early. I was trying to figure out a way to get out of going, but then after they done bought the ticket, you know how you be trying to say get out of it. They was like, we got the tickets.
Yeah.
So they done bought the tickets. So I have to go. And so I'm gonna go.
All right, well I appreciate it, Lisa. And if y'all listening on YouTube, y'all can call in. I'm getting ready to shut YouTube down. If y'all want to call in and talk to whoever's on the line here.
Q&A session is over. All participants are unmuted.
Somebody will have gone home to glory. So we'll see. None of us. None of us.
What you say?
I said maybe next week when we speak, someone will have gone home to glory.
Oh.
And I went to go knock on got up to go knock on some wood. I said none of us. Let me go knock on some wood because I don't like saying stuff like that.
Well,
we'll see where we are next week.
He need to be gone. All right, y'all.
All right.
All right.
Y'all weekend. Happy Memorial Day.